the more you know. So after 2 full days of action, let's take a look at the latest Scoop stats. We're in a position now where 17 tournaments have been played to their conclusion. Nearly 130,000 total entries, total prize money exceeding $9.5 million, with more than 1.3 million paid to winners. Well, let's talk about some of those winners right now with our Scoop correspondent, Howard Swains. Howard, we were focused on the 10K high roller yesterday. What else happened last night?
Well, 13 other tournaments were played to a finish last night, so that's 17 total now completed, and Brazilians won 4 of them. They were all low buy-in events, and it seems very likely indeed that we're going to see Brazil dominating once again. They say tend to win all these countries' leaderboards in all these major series. But it's kind of interesting that they've not always dominated. In the first 6 years of Scoop, they only won 19 titles combined. And then in 2016, they won 21, 2017, 18, 2018, 15 titles. Then in 2019, 36, and last year, 45. And they've already won 5 this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they stay at the top of our country's leaderboard throughout the entire series. And one guy, Neto Goal, he plays as, he won his 3rd career title last night.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Brazil is part of South America, and Americans do tend to dominate at poker. So I'm going to go ahead and claim that one. Howard, is all this Brazil news to say that there are no other countries making any noise in this year's Scoop?
Well, far from it, actually. Central and Eastern Europe had a very good night last night. They won the event that you were watching, obviously. And then we also have a new country on the board entirely, because Montenegro won its first title. A player called Dejan Karađorđević, who plays as Dejan LC357. He won the 5:30 buy-in Scoop kickoff for 78K. That's the first time a Montenegrin has been on the Scoop leaderboard. So that's 77 countries in total, and the 76 others we've written about before, but it's good to have a new one.
That's fantastic. In the 13th year of Scoop, we're still racking up firsts. Howard, thank you very much for the update today.
You're welcome.
Always enjoy talking to Howard Swains from the PokerStars blog, but now we're going to turn our attention to tonight's event. It's the 2K Sunday High Rollers Special Edition. 445 entries down to the final 9, headlined by our former EPT champion, Alexei Boyka, who comes in as the chip leader, plus some well-established British pros, Andy Wilson, Ludovic Geilich, Luke Reeves, to name but 3. Couple of players in the danger zone, Joe.
Danger zone!
And this is what they are playing for. Remember, this is a progressive knockout event. These payouts do not include bounties, so that difference between the runners-up position and the winning prize, that will be different, separated by that final knockout, and of course the winner keeping their own head prize. Well, with us for the final table of this 2K is Maria Ho. Maria, how are you? And most importantly of all, welcome to Scoop.
Yes, I'm so excited. I mean, I wish I was playing only by a little bit. I enjoy being on this side with you guys too.
It's a flip.
A fun final table for us to get our teeth into. I think you were saying in chat just before the start of the stream, Maria, that you enjoy watching Ludovic Geilich play No Limit Hold'em.
I do, and I am happy to see him show up at this final with 56 big blinds, because that is plenty enough for Ludo to make it fun for us.
Yeah, I'd like to watch Ludo play Yahtzee. I think he's just a fun guy to take in, regardless of the game.
Well, this is second pair for Tone Echo. And pocket sixes.
You have to say it like a question every time. For Tone Echo?
Tone Echo? Who has the biggest bounty on offer, by the way, is worth $9,109.38.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a spot where, you know, check calling with middle pair seems appropriate. You want to see another card, maybe hoping to turn that backdoor Broadway, but I don't know if they can face one more bullet here, but doesn't have to worry about that.
Are you going to try to hit your set for longer, like to see a turn in river a little bit longer when you're playing against a 9K bounty that you have covered?
Yeah. Yeah, especially because, if you are taking the aggressive action and being the one betting, you'll probably see a free turn in that scenario.
Well, Ludo in action here, ace tray, suited. Looked up by two
Reasonable
better hands in the
coming
blinds.
along. Yep. Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily a texture that Ludo will attack here against two other opponents. Bowie effect, really hoping to get to showdown pretty cheaply with these nines. Feels a little bit better about that king pairing on the turn, but it's not good enough to bet. You're just kind of hoping that it'll get checked around here.
Never really a good spot to be in when you're hoping it gets checked around.
Yeah, well, pocket nines are home and dry. Near enough 90% equity on the turn, now 100% equity on the river. And if this does get checked to showdown, Andy Wilson is going to win this part of 427,500. Bowie effect, the most recent guest on the Poker in the Ears podcast. Joe, we spoke to Andy last week as part of our Scoop preview episode, and we did say there's a strong chance you'll see him at a Scoop final table. I didn't think it would happen on day 2 of our coverage.
Now we're free rolling now. If he goes on to make 20 more final tables, we'll look like absolute geniuses.
I feel like you guys are always speaking about this podcast Run Good, but I've come on your podcast several times and I have yet to make a final table after. So
you got to be in it to win it, Miss Maria.
That's true. Good point.
Well, Joe's on the podcast every single week, and I think he'd certainly claim he's not benefiting from any Run Good.
Not now.
They say a picture paints 1,000 words. That face says it all.
I see that face at least once a week.
So we have...
It's usually the last thing she sees before I rage quit. Hey, what a turn here.
Spicy turn card. We had the gut shot bet from Andy on the flop and now improves to the straight on the turn, but the royal flush draw for Tone Echo?
Tone Echo?
Yeah, so many outs and good amount of equity heading into the river, but surely going to be facing a bet you'd have to protect here with that jack high straight. Big one.
And
I mean, that is protective.
Table and the Queen of Diamonds is live. We do have the possibility, assuming that we get to the river, we do have the possibility of having a raw flush on the stream. Oh, it's the King of Hearts.
Still not a great card for Andy's hand.
Yeah, and when your opponent calls such a big overbet on the turn, you have to give them credit for these type of combo draws, which, sometimes would be on the hearts end and not on the diamonds.
Yeah, it seems like hearts is just as likely here. Now, of course, wow, Andy did check it back. I'm like, these guys, they always know exactly when to value bet.
And that's 2 pots in a row for Andy Wilson. A player with 171K in live earnings, yet to win a Scoop title. We have got some former Spring Championship of Online Poker winners at this final table. Andy, not among them.
Yeah, I was watching some of yesterday's stream. I saw Fedor go for some very, very thin value, especially, you know, 3 and
be
4
right.
handed.
Uh-oh.
So, and be right. Oh, wow.
Well, that is going to be a double up for Kate to Creo. And we are still 9-handed. Blinds right now, 30,000, 60,000. They will go up in 5 minutes' time. Now that this tournament has reached the final table, now they're down to the final 9. They are playing with 30-minute blind levels. So plenty of play in this. And I guess we should draw attention to just how big a stack Alexei Boyka has come into this final table with. What was it? Near enough 250 big blinds and a significant chip lead over the rest of the table.
I think it was 226 bigs or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you love to see it in a situation where, you know, it's a knockout tournament and you have the opportunity by having everybody covered by so much to make those loose calls that you need to make at times in order to win that bounty.
It's also like an interesting path to 13.6 million and having a relatively small bounty attached to you, which means that you're like, you got there from not busting people somehow.
Got a Jack-7 suited open here from Andy Wilson, and the flat on the button from Kate to Creo. This is Javier Fernandez, who has been a runner-up twice in Scoop events. Artisanal Sourdough makes the call, and now we got the Ace-Jack, which squeezes. It's Ludovic Geilich.
Yeah, not surprising to see this squeeze from Ludo. It's a good spot.
Oh, Ludo, buddy.
Ludo with kings, and again, it's Andy Wilson who gets the action started. Bowie effect opening with King-Jack. Grax with Ace-9 suited. All in.
Ooh. Can't really blame Gratz for doing that off of that stack. It's just the borderline. I don't know if I would be shoving Ace-8 suited there to an open, but Ace-9 suited looks pretty good to me.
Grats. More like rats, unless an ace hits.
Greenstein needed. Doesn't hit. We get our first KO. Ludovic Geilich claims a relatively small bounty. And we see Grax cash out in 9th place for $8,408.67 in prize money. That's the total that Grax won. 9th place payout plus the money earned in bounties.
Alexei gonna pop this one up, I'm sure, with that Ace-King. I mean, Ace-10 suited just looks so pretty, and you've got to assume that Alexei's going to have some light 3-bets here, being the chip leader and also just choosing to attack that stack size of Tone Echo.
This is Tanicho's second royal draw of the day.
There's a lot of hands that look pretty, but they're also, a lot of them are crap.
But this isn't one of them. It was 2/5 of a royal flush.
Well, a royal flush is
That's
impossible
right,
on this board. However, backdoor club and straight draws. Ace-King still the best hand for now, and near enough a 4-1 favorite. We get the continuation bet from Boyka.
3/5 of a nut flush. Oh.
Nope, lets it go. Alexei Boyka, we referenced, is an EPT champion, won the main event in Malta in 2016. Also has 2 wins in the Spring Championship of Online Poker. First Scoop title was back in 2015, second in 2018. Looking to win number 3 this evening. Well, Luke Reeves getting involved here, flattening on the button with pocket fours. Crazy Lissy with Queen Jack.
I like that, flattening.
Do we not have confirmation that Crazy Lissy is Christopher Frank?
I think Christopher Frank is Lissy Stinkt. Crazy Lissy is a Russian player.
Okay.
In my mind, Crazy Lissy is Crazy Melissa. Let's get some representation here.
Well, pair of jacks still ahead.
Yeah, tough board here for Crazy Lissy, though. Probably not going to see a bit too easy turn fours into a bluff. You never know. In these multi-way situations, it's always tricky.
And a situation where Crazy Lissy improves to 2-pair on the river, but it is a very, very straighty board. And is anyone going to be able to successfully rep a king here?
Yes. And spoiler alert, that person won't have a king. Oh no, it was gonna be Alexa. Dang it.
I would agree with that Alexi did have the best chance of being the person to rep the king in that spot, just because if you look at the stack sizes, you know, you can put these people in pretty uncomfortable situations. But now Crazy Lissy, really tough decision. I mean, facing about a half pot bet here.
Makes the call with 2-pair and is right. And Luke Reeves drops down to 1.2 million as the blinds go up to 35,000 and 70,000. 8 players remaining in this 2K Sunday High Roller, an event that started on Sunday. The clue's in the title. Played down to the final table last night. Concludes tonight. We will crown another Scoop winner. And we'll see.
You know who would have folded
from this final table cards up.
You know who would have folded to that half pot bet on the 4-card straight board? Sane Lissy.
Right.
Well, somewhat of a crazy move again here by Crazy Lissy. Not too crazy with the king queen, but you know, again, you're up against Ludo, who is liable to do anything sometimes when facing 3 bets, but ace queen suited, really good hand to call the 3-bet with.
Well, Ludo is a previous Scoop champion. Won his title back in 2018. It was not in No Limit Hold'em. Ludo won the 1K stud.
He is a 1K stud.
Who knew? Ludo strikes me, I'm not saying anything about his stud game, but he does strike me as the kind of person that could potentially play a game for the first time and end up winning a tournament.
Yeah. That sounds incredibly plausible. Would you like a hashtag fun fact about Ludovic Geilich, Maria?
I would love one.
When asked who he would like to have play in his dream home game, Ludo nominated Anthony Hopkins and Elon Musk.
Interesting. I get the Elon Musk. That would be on my list too. Anthony Hopkins could do.
You know, when poker players say they want to play poker with Elon Musk, it's just because they know he's a fish. He's like the rich businessman. It has nothing to do with wanting to hang out with Elon Musk. Bring money, Musk.
And your space internet. We could all do with more bandwidth. Well, Crazy Lissy gets a better hand to fold.
Bitcoin or flamethrowers.
Round to the blinds.
See what Bowie
6-3 off.
Yeah. I mean, he may try to attack the with a raise here from the small blind, but of course we're going to see a shove here out of tone echo.
Ship it to Nicho.
Good intonation.
To Nicho?
Nicho.
How have other languages not picked up on putting the question mark at the beginning of the sentence like Spanish does? I mean, come on. Let me know right away what I'm in for. Don't make me wait to the end.
I mean, I would just be sat there for an eternity trying to work out how on a keyboard you do upside down question marks. Meanwhile, we have a shove here. Luke Reeves all in with jacks.
I'm still trying to figure out capital letters.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very close spot for Alexi there with King 8 suited after opening, but does decide to let it too easy live there.
Eight, 6 suited. Crazy Lissy continuing to live up to their name. And we get the immediate re-raise. A 3-bet to 441,000 from Andy Wilson. Wins him the pot. And Andy currently third in chips behind Via and Alexi Boyka, who is the chip leader with 13.5 million at the start of this hand. Folded to Boyka in the small blind. Raises with ace-jack. 9-8 suited for Ludo.
Nice meaty raise here, too.
Interesting flop for Ludo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that backdoor flush draw could potentially choose to get aggressive here.
Well, Boyka has checked the flop. Ludo checks behind. Ace-jack high, still the best hand. 77% equity.
And that was definitely a flop texture that I believe Alexi was planning to check call against a bet. On this turn, though, it will be interesting to see if he decides to check again. But sometimes, you know, you might see a bet there by Alexi. I think range advantage is not as apparent, of course, in these blind versus blind situations. So although, you know, in most situations, you could say this king-queen board favors the pre-flop raisers range. Now you know that from the small blind, people can be opening a lot wider.
I mean, blind on blind is the perfect way to describe it. Nobody really knows what's going on. Everyone's kind of in the dark in these situations.
Well,
oh, now I have the flush draw. Great.
Called the bet from Ludo on the turn. Now that Ludo has brick river, is he going to bluff with 9 high? And if so, will Boyka call again with just ace high?
Yeah, and this is the type of spot where, you know, it's plausible that Ludo could have turned a king. But of course, having that king pair on the end makes it a little bit less likely that he has it. And you also have to think,
why
would
so
Ludo
serious,
be
Ludo?
And you have to think, would Ludo be choosing this sizing, though, you know, with a Queen X type hand? As Alexi, you look at this sizing, and it does seem to polarize Ludo's hand here quite a bit. So we may see the hero. Because again, you know, if Ludo was... If Ludo was value betting, you know, Queen X, or even going for a thin value with like the 7X type hand, would he go for this sizing?
Nice. Take flight.
We get the hero call. And that was a 2.4 million chip pot won by Alexi Boyka to increase his chip lead at this 8-handed final table. Now he has the snowmans.
Nom 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 nom.
And just to pick up
Do you think
on a couple of comments, yes, we are reading the chat, and that's why I'm able to correct Thrumbo number 5, who thinks that we're actually watching an event from yesterday. This is on a 30-minute delay. This final table is being played tonight.
Do you think when Ludo gets called there, he's ever like, oh man, damn this rep of mine?
I think Ludo regrets more opportunities that he doesn't take as a bluff than he does when he bluffs and it doesn't work. So
you're probably right. Yeah.
And Cal 9000 in chat was saying, you know, when your table image works against you in that situation. And yeah, I think, you know, if Alexi was on the fence, you kind of look at the fact that it's Ludo and you're like, call.
Later on, you run it in the solver and it tells you it's a fold, and then you type in Ludo's name and it's like, call 100%.
Another pot for Boyka and moves up over the 15 million mark. And yes, Rapids BR, just to confirm, we are speaking in real time. There is no further delay on the stream. The action we're watching is delayed. Commentary is 100% live. And again, we always say, yes, it is possible that you can go and watch the table in real time and find out what happens in advance. But if there are spoilers in the chat, you will be banned. And we have got Pocket Rockets for Toneko.
Ludo's definitely thinking that Elon would have folded there. You know, for a fact, Anthony Hopkins wasn't hero calling that river.
Bowie effect. And
well, at least you don't have the king here.
242,000. Well, another overcard to the 7.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Bowie will be coming along for another turn bet here. You know, when you call that flop, obviously you're hoping to turn trips or some backdoor equity with the straight, but really against an under the gun opener here, not much you could do.
So Toneko is Miguel Sione, who's had numerous deep runs in Scoop and WCOOP events, but again, does not have a Coop title just yet. As we referenced, is the biggest bounty up for grabs this final table, worth over 9K. Via not that far behind and entering this pot with pocket 5s.
The biggest bounty is Toneko?
Correct. Thank you for your question. The player we first saw during our Stadium Series streams from the summer of 2020, took down a Stadium Series event, also as a Scoop title, 2 WCOOP titles, and I think this might be the most impressive thing, winner of 3 Sunday Millions in 2015, 2017, and 2018.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not even a winner of 3 Sunday Million seats. Some of those satellites give away like 75 of them.
Well, action has been folded to Javier Fernandez in the small blind. Completes Alexei Boyka with the option. Has a dominating hand, Queen 9. checks it. Second pair.
A very good second pair.
Bet and a call. Ace on the turn.
You know, this is a situation where, you know, Kay could have had some traps from the small blind here, thinking that Alexei might shove pretty wide against that stack from the big blind. So it is reasonable to rep this type of board as the limper, but I mean, Alexei does have a pretty decent hand against the whole of Kay's range here.
Well, two pair now for Boyka, and Fernandez catches a little bit on the river. Pair of nines. $525,000.
Just using that 10 here in his hand in order to hopefully get Alexei off this two pair. I mean, it's kind of a situation where, you know, the two pair's not not that great. Surely Kay could have a lot of jack tens that they would limp with as well.
And I'm guessing that this isn't contemplating whether to call or not. This is contemplating whether to raise or not. And sure enough, Boyka makes it 1.56 million. Enough to put Fernandez all in.
I mean, if we were playing
There's
Western rules, he'd be out. That's more than he had.
Well, I mean, if we were playing Western rules, we'd just be giving the title to Boyka right now. 16 million chips. Wow. Two callers so far after Crazy Lizzie opened with Queen Jack. Bowie FX in with 10-8 suited. Boyka in with 9-8 suited. King 6 suited for Ludovic Geilich. But it is Crazy Lizzie who's flopped best here with a pair of queens.
I mean, look at all the equity. 4 ways with just a pair.
Heart draw now for Boyka.
Whoops. Whoops. And a king for Ludo. Why did I have to say something? Is there a worse turn card than that one?
Not many, Benny.
Don't think Bowie is going to take a stab here 4 ways, even though he is in position.
And Ludo's hand holds.
Yeah, I could see Ludo going for a pretty chunky bet here. And Crazy Lizzie will, you know, be in a tough spot. I would imagine that against any smaller sizing, Crazy Lizzie will call.
Goes
There's a
for
chonker.
500k. Sizable bet into a 630k pot.
By the way, Marie, we say husky. That chunky is out. It's a husky bet sizing.
And this is a situation where, you know, the bet coming from Ludo is a little more credible than, say, you know, if Crazy Lizzie checked it over to Bowie and Bowie was the one who bet in position last to act here on this river after so many draws bricked off. And again, it's just the sizing that gives Crazy Lizzie some pause here, but is going to go with the call. Again, you know, plugged Ludo into the solver, like you said, Joe. And that's when it could work for you to be Ludo.
Plug Ludo into the solver. He's more machine than man now. Queen 10 opens. Ace 10 all in.
Pretty attractive.
Well, that means, yeah.
Pretty
For sure.
attractive for Alexi here to call with that bounty on the line, but doesn't.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh, the
Two
thick
bounties.
plottins.
Yeah. The reshove
Huge bounty
from
for
Luke
Bit Too
Reeves.
Easy.
But you can't call
We
this
never
with
see a
Queen
call
10.
off here with, yeah, exactly. That's just what I was about to say. But it's so much cashish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wish, you just had a little more in your stack where this call won't hurt you as much if you lose. But yeah, it's just too husky.
Oh,
Two
Well, we
us
end
to
up-
a bet.
with a chop pot there. And this is going to be a disaster, but we're going to try it anyway. You know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot.
It's a chop pot.
I'm told the harmonies were
Maybe-
bad, the
First one,
synchronization, not so much.
Maybe that's the right approach, though, is to just all just do our own thing. And maybe, maybe create something new from it.
Maybe make it like a round, where one person starts and the other person starts a few seconds later.
Like row, row, row your boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Luke Reeves is all in again after Alexi Boyka opened with ace 4. And calls, going for the bounty. But ace king holds. And we did get Barry Greenstein making an appearance there. Luke Reeves doubling up to nearly 3 million. Boyka down to 14.5 million. Still big chip leader with 8 players remaining in the high buy-in version of event number 4 of Scoop 2021. And now the action is on Artem Vizhenkov. Via raises with 10s, gets a fold. It's Andy Wilson's turn to pick up pocket rockets. Via has raised with Queen 10. Now is Bowie Effect going to
Ever
respond?
see a slow play here? Yeah. We ever see just a flattening, as James would say.
Yeah, I
Nope.
think that a lot of times it is appropriate here to potentially consider slow playing. But when you do have this bounty situation, you realize that people might peel against 3 bets a little bit wider, especially in position, just hoping to somehow chase you down and get your bounty. But, I guess Queen 10 offsuit just was not good enough for Via to do that. But, you can really inflate the pot with these good hands. And in situations where players might fold certain hands to a 3 bet, they might not just because they have a chance at your bounty.
Ludo opening with King Jack, flattered by Luke Reeves with ace 5 suited. And a couple of aces in the blinds. Andy Wilson folding ace 8. Ace 9 also folded. Imagine the fireworks we could have had between Tone Echo and Bit Too Easy on this flop.
Oh, Tone Echo, she's so mad right now. Livid.
Oh, here's a potential collision. Ludo with 10s. And Artem Vizhenkov Via with pocket jacks. There's the re-raise. And here is a hashtag fun fact about Via. He created his nickname by taking the first letters of his last name and the first letter of his first name. It really was that simple.
How many names does he have?
Just the 2.
Well, there's a 5th letter in there.
Well, I guess he extended the V bit and then just added the A from Artem.
I got it. Okay.
I would imagine that Ludo's going to take one off here. You know, called the 3-bet pre. This looks like, you know, could be worse, could be better type flops for your hand when you have 10s against a 3-bet. And as for Via, you can pretty comfortably take hands like kings and queens out of Ludo's range because you would have expected him to 4-bet shove with those. So now it's really if you think Ludo has an ace X type hand here, because obviously I think Ludo, the same goes for ace king, that Ludo would have shoved pre with that hand as well. So you do feel comfortable that you have the best hand. You see him going for that quarter pot sizing here because that's the type of sizing where you will get called by worse hands, but if you go any bigger, you're probably beat.
Would you like another hashtag fun fact about Via?
Yes. One that's easier to understand,
Artem,
please.
Okay. Artem Vizhenkov also has a degree in political science from Tomsk State University.
Wow, a poker
Okay,
player
I almost
finished
understand
college.
I love a good scientist. What a fold from Ludo, huh?
Yeah.
Man, I'm sitting there thinking Ludo has such a great hand for paying this off. You know, he's beating a 7. You don't expect too many 7s there, but he's beating 8s and 9s. You can definitely see him calling another bet and just like, nah, dog, later.
Yeah, in that spot, I think that it would be tough to imagine Via 3-betting with 9s or 8s. And also Ludo did raise from fairly early position, so most 3-bets there are going to be pretty credible against his stack size. But
I mean, yeah, that's easy if you remembered that there was a 3-bet pre-flop, which I didn't. So, you know.
Now, we have got a question here from Cluter31.
Including all the facts.
And I know it's tempting to troll people who ask this question. Are the first and second place payout amounts correct? But occasionally, every now and then, we get people who've never seen progressive knockout events streamed before. So I think it is important to explain that the bounties account for half the prize pool. So you can see the target symbols against every single player and what they're worth right now. Remember, whoever wins this is not only going to take the bounty of the runner-up, but they're also going to keep their own head prize. And that creates a sizable difference between second and first. If you also had a ratcheted payout structure for the payouts as well, the difference between first and second would be ludicrous.
My home game has a ratchet payout structure. It's mostly just old clothes of mine.
So Luke Reeves with the best of it here. But Andy Wilson is going to bluff at this with 10 high.
Yeah, certainly. The sizing makes it look pretty credible. You would think that they can pretty easily value bet an ace-X type hand in this situation.
Luke, I am your bluffer.
Crazy Lissy opens with ace-8. We've got king-jack for Bowie effect, ace-jack for tone echo. Folded.
5s for QT Creo,
who is short stacked, and when the blinds go up in 1 minute's time, we'll have a 5 big blind stack. Well, Geilic's in with queen 10 and flops best.
Yeah, not a lot of outs for his opponents.
Ludo now near enough an 86% favorite.
Yeah, I would imagine that Ludo's going to want to protect here, you know, from that single overcard. Plus, you could get value from a hand like sevens or eights or nines, ones that would have checked back the flop but could potentially pay off a bet.
Queen 3 versus Ace Queen.
Come on, just fold this. Make him look like a jerk. Make him annoyed.
No. Ludo is not one to automatically reach for the fold button.
I'm telling you, folding the small blinds coming back.
Here we go, 40, 80 blinds now. Putting the pressure on Javier Fernandez, Keita Creo. And we've got Toneko opening with King Queen, Alexei Boyko with the dominating hand, Ace Queen. And that is a re-raise, a 3-bet to 392K.
Yeah, pretty easy 3-bet call-off spot should Toneko decide to go with this, but not quite sure. I mean, started with just under 30 big blinds and don't think it's good enough.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's been no light 3-bets, right? So far?
No, I mean, I think the lightest we've seen is ace 9 suited, but that wasn't even really light in that particular scenario.
Right.
All in here. King 10. Just under 5 big blinds. Jack 10 for Via in the small. Jack
money,
8
though?
for Crazy Lissy in the big. And there is a re-raise from Via to isolate and try and claim that bounty. But Keita Creo does have the dominating hand. King 10 versus Jack 10. Crazy Lissy folds, and here we go. Domination rotation. And that will do it for Javier Fernandez. We have our 8th place finisher. And Keita Creo cashes out for a total of $17,302 in prize money as Via moves up to 9.9 million, having claimed that bounty. And now is the biggest head prize on offer at this 7-handed final table, 11K. If you can knock out Artem Vezenkov.
Tay crying.
And we have Crazy Lissy opening with 9-8 up against King 8 in the big blind.
Ooh.
And that is a straight draw for both players. Crazy Lissy is also
Straight draw for Toneko?
paired their 9. Correct. Well, this could be one of those pots that everyone adores.
Tone does have the chance to make the
I'm warming up
higher
this
straight
time.
if if a queen were to come on the river.
Don't talk
but
about that.
At this point, it's looking like I should warm up my voice as well.
Yep. Let's do this. Okay, James, you
So
go
this
high,
time-
Maria, you go low. All right?
And just to be clear, we're doing it like in sequence. So like, I'll go first, then you, then Maria?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I can't be any worse than the last time.
Okay.
I agree.
Oh, I'm nervous now. Somebody move all in and fold.
It's not a fold. It is a chop pot. And you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot.
Everyone loves a chop pot.
Everyone loves a chop pot.
Yeah, I think that was... I can live with that.
I don't know. I have no. I have to wait for the reviews to come in. My entire self-worth is based on what other people think of me.
I actually also have
this
another idea for the next time we do it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, this is the widest range of reviews we've ever gotten.
I mean, the fact that you care about the critical comments of the audience is disturbing.
I feel like in order to salvage it, the next time we should go, like one person goes, everyone, and then the next person goes, everyone, and then someone else goes, everyone, and then we go, you know?
Oh my goodness.
No? Okay.
And if you think we can do that with the various delays and latencies, then, you know, that's fine. We can try it. It won't work. It will be an unmitigated disaster. It'll be the worst we've ever done, but we can try it.
So then James does the whole line after we go everyone, 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 and then he just does the whole thing and that's it?
Yeah, I kind of like that. I didn't think that far to the rest of it, but yeah. Sure.
It's just the Spring Championship of Online Poker. Why not work this out live in front of everybody?
Better to workshop it between us than when Sam's on, because Sam just wouldn't participate probably.
No, yeah, that's true. It's our only
Miserable
chance.
git.
This
Top
guy's
pair
saying
for
I was
Andy
the best
Wilson.
after you and James.
Second pair here for Luke Reeves. Seven, 8, 9, 10, jack. That is a straight.
Yeah, Bowie effect trying to pot control there, but Luke does end up making the better hand on the river and goes for the check.
It's too late to insert a clause into Grafton's contract that he has to participate in the chop pot song.
I mean, guys, he's a PokerStars Team Pro now. Can't you guys make him do anything you want?
Ironically, this is the point where we normally completely lose control of them.
Congrats, by the way, to all of the new Team Pros. I saw that today.
Trip 8 for Via wins the last hand of the session, up over 10 million. So we have 7 players remaining at this final table. They are also 7-handed at the final table of another big event playing to a winner tonight. Scoop event number 8 was a 5K no limit hold'em event, which attracted 176 entries and plays down to a winner, having played down to the final table last night. So let's just check in on some of the action from this event. And another stacked final table, another strong lineup in this one. We've got Mikita Bodziakowski, Fish 2013. We've got Sam Greenwood, straight dollars homie. We've got Samuel Woosden, European, who was at the final table of the 10K that we covered last night. Plus, Vicent Bosca, Matthias Eibinger, Patrick Leonard.
How bummed are you that we didn't get to see D. Peters? Now I know why we're not covering this table. I would have tuned out immediately.
Well, with top pair, top kicker, Samuel Woosden will bet this flop. Matthias Eibinger calls and binks on the turn. However, it's by no means over. Broadway for Eibinger, but Woosden picks up the queen high flush draw.
Matthias Eibinker. And there you go. Here we go, kids.
Okay.
Here we
so
go.
How's it meant to work again?
So it goes like everyone, 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 and then you just do the full line after that.
Okay, fine. So I start those still, right?
Yeah.
Same order as last time, yeah.
Can't believe we've had another chop so quickly. Please, someone just represent the flush. Move all in. Not actually considering folding, is he? He calls. It's a chop pot. And you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot. Joe, you didn't sustain. You've got to sustain. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I didn't know we had to hold it. There's everyone.
Of course, you've got to sustain it. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Well, we're getting good reviews on it anyway. I'll hold it next time.
No,
Maria's so far behind us is the problem. Lol fail. Who wrote that? Hope you don't like writing in the chat. You banned.
Meanwhile, we get Woosden open with ace, king, flattered by Eibinger with eights, and now Patrick Leonard with pocket tens.
Planner pads.
All in.
This isn't even a bounty tournament.
Nope.
Yeah, and I think we could expect Woosden to isolate here, and it's just not good enough to call off here with eights against two all-ins.
Yeah, and assuming that Eibinger folds, we're going to be off to the races, and Pads will need tens to hold. He's the at-risk player here. Ace on the flop. And that is the elimination of Patrick Leonard, taking that event down to the final six. Meanwhile, we return to our primary tournament of the evening. It is Scoop event number 4, which started on Sunday and concludes tonight. 7 players remaining. Alexei Boyka still with the huge chip lead. And to see through the next session, I will leave you in the more than capable hands of Joe Stapleton and Maria Ho.
Hello, my babies. Welcome back. Down to the final 7. It's a bounty tournament, my babies, so expect the chips to fly. Joe Stapleton, Maria Ho, Scoop 2021. A progressive knockout. Alexei Boyka still way out in front. Top bounty on the line via. Actions folded around to Luke Reeves on the button, who folds a 7 tray. Queen 10 for Via. Crazy Lissy in the big with 8-10.
Yeah, and about, 60 bigs effective. You're so deep here that Queen 10, you can easily limp call a raise with. You can sometimes elect to have, some Queen 10s, of course, Queen 10 suiteds in your opening range as well.
And a nice husky raise here, small to big. People going more than 3x now. I knew it. I knew I was on the right track with the small to big raises. But wait till it comes back around that you can just fold your small blind sometimes. Queen, deuce, trips for Via. Crazy Lissy gonna have to be real crazy to get much further in this hand. It makes a very sane fold on the flop. 10-9 suited for Tone Echo. Folds. Oh, well, that was quick.
Wow.
Oh,
well,
finally, someone getting a little out of line.
Yeah, I mean, I think I sounded more surprised than this is. Obviously, not as surprising considering he is the definitive big stack. And you got to put in some of these light opens from under the gun.
Well, Crazy Lissy has made this a real enticing squeeze spot for Tone Echo. Ships the rest of it in. Alexa's going to fold. Crazy Lissy not going to call it off either. Tone Echo still the shortest stack, but nipping at the heels of Ludovic Geilich. Basically the same stack. Nine-5 is the suited sandwich, and then someone else said the same thing right after. I guess that must be a real thing. Like the Spinal Tap album? Shark Sandwich?
Yeah, I'd like to know why. I don't think I've heard that before. Wait, does this have to do with the five being sourdough? Like bread, sandwich?
Oh,
hand with five? I don't know,
I didn't
guys.
think so.
Let me know. That's just where my mind went. I'm hungry.
Oh, you don't want this sandwich. And top pair gets out top paired on the turn. Via now with tens. And puts out a nice, large, big boned bet. Thanks, John Delano.
Yeah, certainly want to charge all of the draws that are possible right now. Certainly having Alexi call from the big blind here. You have a lot of the 4Xs. You have, the 6Xs. You have flush draws.
And a nice laydown there from Alexa. Aleska. Probably a big difference between those two words. Tone Echo with Queen 10 suited.
Yeah, just a hand that looks so appealing here to call from the button.
And flops some decent equity against the overpair. 7-8's not doing terribly either, all things considered. Queen's check. And probably knows there is a lot they can check raise against. But it checks around.
Yeah,
Jack.
Definitely. I think that was a smart move by Tone Echo to check back, try to realize your equity there. You are up against two opponents. You don't want to get check raised off of your flush draw.
And the jack on the turn makes things even more sweatier. So disappointing when you're Tone Echo and you brick this river. So many cards. Where did they come up with that one?
Luke probably breathing a sigh of relief. That's as brick of a river as you can get when you have an overpair to that board. And Ludo, though, maybe thinking about a small blocker bet, defensive bet here with a hand that has a bit of showdown, especially considering it's gotten checked around both on the flop and on the turn.
I mean, this feels like a spot where Luke's probably not going to fold very often. That's what the thought was about. Are we going to raise our one pair over pair?
That is a very, very good raise by Luke. I think that sizing from Ludo made it a little bit easier for Luke to elect to go for a raise for value here. I think if the sizing was polarizing, I think that Luke would just have to call and hope that he's best.
And Ludo wisely lets it go. Bit too easy. Luke Reeves now up to 3.7 million. Putting a little distance between himself and the two bottom stacks, Tone Echo and Ludo. Aleska raising on the button, Queen 8. Ludo with King Jack in the small. Kind of a dicey spot. I think he thinks he's going to have the best hand here most of the time.
Yeah, especially against Alexa's, button opening range off of the chip lead here. You feel pretty good having King Jack. You want to take control in this situation. Also, I think I've started calling Alexa, like I'm talking to my Amazon Echo.
Alexa, this is so sad. Play Despacito. Tone Echo, King Jack, opening this pot, otherwise known as Miguel Seon. Ludo's going to try to see a flop with 2 5s and does. Ace 6-6. 5's the best hand, but not exactly a stellar board for a small pocket pair. Foreign Poker says, Joe, to be honest, your jokes are improving. I've been reading about jokes in books, some of which are banned, and so are you. Thank you for your comment. Ludo trying to protect a little bit here. And succeeds. Crawling up on the 3 million chip mark. Action folds around the Luke Reeves. Ace 4 folds it. Via with Jack 10 on the button in position. Raise and take it. Pocket 9s now for Via. 8s for Tone Echo.
Yeah, and you see Alexi, this is the second time he has opened from under the gun with these type of suited, 3-4 gapper type hands. And again, when you look at the stack sizes behind him, there's just not many players that could potentially 3-bet him light. And so it looks like it's a pretty good situation for Alexi usually to be able to raise and take it pre, but not against these two hands.
And Aleska comes along for the ride with the 6 pairing. I'm just going to call him Alexi from now on because that's his real name. And that is it. I don't want to hear another word about it. Top pair, no good in 2 spots.
Yeah, Via has to feel pretty good about his hand in this situation. Yes, you are up against an under the gun opening range, but you do like having that over paired to the board. You also realize that the big blind is in the mix as well. So definitely weighing the options and decides to raise. definitely puts the eights in a tough spot here, because if you look at your stack size as Tone Echo, you kind of have to go with it here and now. Does decide to fold. I would imagine with this backdoor flush possibility, as well as potentially some backdoor straight draws, you are going to come along as Alexi.
Maria called it spade on the turn. Alexi picks up a few more outs and whiffs the river. 9 still good. Do we turn the 6 into a bluff, having been raised on the flop?
Yeah, when the turn gets checked back here, I think that Alexi feels that Via does have some of these exact hands, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. So do you want to try to bluff them off that? And he doesn't.
Via picks up a nice pot there. Up to almost 12 million in chips. Approaching the chip leader stack. Crazy Lissy opening with ace 8. Not much shot of getting a fold out of the big blind, I don't think. Not just not a fold, the opposite of a fold, a 3-bet, and Crazy Lissy is forced to fold the best hand. Via with ace king now.
Yeah, that was really good of Alexi to take that spot against that stack size when you have, that 40 big blind stack or so. You can't really do much against 3-bets. If you call, you have to have it. You have to have a pretty good hand to continue there. So it's nice to be able to pick on those stack sizes a bit in this situation.
Well, opportunity here for Tone Echo with pocket kings facing the open from Via, who may decide to take what is a perceived flip for over $9,000 in bounties. See if anyone else gets involved. Seems unlikely.
Yeah, and again, for just over 20 big blinds, if this wasn't a bounty tournament, then I think 4s would be an easy fold here for Via. But something to be considered for sure when you see that 9K bounty there.
Via just calls. And statistically was the favorite to miss this flop. Checks it on over to Tone Echo. There's
I
just
think
over
the fact
pot
that Tone
left
Echo,
behind.
yeah, and I think as Via, though, you have to recognize that if Tone Echo had a hand like ace king with that stack size, they probably would have just shoved pre. So actually the 3-bet makes Tone Echo's hand a lot stronger. So even though this kind of may look like to some people, oh, well, if they could have had 2 overs and they missed and maybe my 4s are good, you have to think about the fact that with those ace king, ace queen type hands, Tone Echo would have just shoved pre.
And both players pick up a club draw, the ace on the turn. Not a good card for either player, but also, I guess, to go along with what you were saying, Maria, that Via would probably have gotten it all in with a lot of their aces too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't think that this is necessarily considering tone. It's concerning tone too much, except with the fact that maybe Via has, some type of queen jack suited, queen jack of clubs that they could have peeled pre, but certainly I think the ace is not something that Tone Echo's too worried about. But now, looks like you have.
You're not mad about rivering a set here. Either way.
No.
I mean, unless they have queen jack, which I guess is possible sometimes.
Yeah, certainly queen jack suiteds are not out of the realm of possibility to be in Via's hand in this situation. But of course, it's kind of nice when you have the king of clubs in your hand, because you know that they can't have hands like king queen of clubs that they would have peeled with, king jack of clubs that they would have peeled with pre. So you're less worried.
Via taking a 1 million chip stab, gets called by the set of kings, and that is a double up for Tone Echo. Bad news for Ludo and Luke O. Not great news for Crazy Lissy either. 4 stacks all right around the same size. Ludo's the shortest now. And Alexei Boyko with ace-jack suited facing the open from Tone Echo. Has got Tone Echo pipped. And once again, it's just a dumb spot to be in with ace-10 against an aggressive chip leader. And Tone Echo makes the call, flops top pair, but it's top 2 for Alexei on this monotone board. Maria, on monotone boards, we're just going to do monotone commentary. All right. Action on Alexei.
Seems pretty hard for Alexei to not bet. When I do monotone commentary, I just start talking really softly. Is that weird?
Yep. It's the easiest way to control the fluctuation in your voice. King on the turn adds an additional club. The board continues to be monotone, like the commentary. Will we see
not a great
bet?
Turn card? Yeah, not a great turn card for 2 pairs. So would be tough to go for the bet here. And now Tone might consider that top pair being good, but I don't think it's good enough to bet on a 4 flush board.
You are watching Scoop 2021 on PokerStars TV.
Okay, that was really hard. I'm glad that
that was tough. That was tough. Back to regular commentary. Raise and take it for Via. Queen Jack for Alexa. Alexei. For A. For Boyka. That's it. Let's just go Boyka. I can't even do Alexei anymore. Boyka. Luke's going to try to see a flop with 2 6s. Andy Bowie effect. Wilson in the big. And everybody misses. 8 high flop. Boyka. The pre-flop aggressor.
For Luke, this isn't too bad of a board for 6s, but you're facing a half pot bet, and you also know that the big blind has yet to act. So, you know, in that scenario, it would be so hard off at your stack size to call over 300K there, and then maybe have Bowie raise, and now you have to chuck your hand, and you don't want to do that after committing some very valuable chips.
And how much are you considering there too, that maybe this is just like sort of an amateur feeling on my part, but also that, you know, what turn cards are you going to like? You know,
right.
I'm just thinking about
that's also the type
streets.
Yeah, and it's a little bit easier to come along for that ride and at least see the turn if it was heads up, if you had more chips in your stack, so that call doesn't necessarily affect your chip position as much. But of course, you know, when we're thinking about ICM considerations, when we're thinking about having fold equity because we want to survive when we're all in, because we know people will be calling light for the bounties, those are things that make it very important to preserve your chip stack.
Things are likely to escalate here. I see 2 hands that will not be folding. And barring some sort of monotone disaster, we should be seeing a chop pot. Both these players probably pretty stoked right now. They're all in. Two clubs on the flop.
Free roll.
Club free roll does not materialize. This. You swear what? You want to sing?
Yes.
Maria, that hand ended in a chop. And you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot.
Everyone loves a chop pot.
Okay, that might have worked as two
really
separate
well timed. Yeah.
call and repeat things.
I don't know. That seemed good on my end. I'm not sure. I was just gonna say, I swear, free rolls never come in for me. I have seen countless flops where I flop flush draws against the same hand. I never get it.
Yeah. Wait, are you complaining about those always ending in a chop for you? Is that how good you run in your life? That you're just like,
I don't run.
Man, I chop all of my 50-50s. It's so annoying. All of my exact 50-50s. Do you know how many of those I've lost?
All I'm saying is that what happened for Carrie Katz against Connor Drynan in the one drop has never happened to me. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm really here. I've got your violin right
my
here,
tiny
Maria.
violin. Thank you. Why don't you go ahead and play it for me?
To have never sucked out in that situation. Back to the action. Folds around a Ludo. 9 deuce suited. Manages to avoid the blackjack hand. Bit too easy. Limps in the small. Via checks. 30 on board. No action. 7 misses both players as well. I'm going to be playing the board bet from Luke Reeves. Gets a slightly better hand to fold. And another blind on blind battle. One position further left. Via raising a crazy Lissy. And flops 3 5s.
Now, this situation, you could expect that crazy Lissy will sometimes have a lot of hands in the big blind that he can at least take one off with. Obviously all ace highs, the hands that have an overcard and a backdoor possibility, but Queen 10 decides to give it up.
Actions folded around to the blinds for the 3rd hand in a row. Another limp in situation. Andy Wilson with ace 5 takes the free flop. King, queen, jack, ace high out in front, has a gut shot to the nuts. Broadway. 8s and 6s still live. Goes check, check, queen on the turn. Andy Wilson is a former competitive video game player.
Probably pretty happy to just get to showdown here if that 10 didn't come in for Andy. And, crazy Lissy here showing up with nothing. May just try to take a stab, but that's not going to work against an ace.
Snap call by the former Team Acer player, Andy Wilson. And here's team double acer. Ludovic Geilich. Min raising.
Happy to see those aces, but nobody really has any hands they can come along with. You know, even this 10-7 offsuit against a min raise.
Oh, no.
You do peel with it sometimes, and sometimes that happens.
This is the worst thing that happened to Ludovic Geilich since last call. Manages to not put any money in on that flop. The board gets worse looking for aces, so maybe there's a shot Ludo doesn't get totally done here.
Yeah, I agree that check back on the flop especially helped Ludo now seeing this turn to not lose a big pot here. I mean, yes, your opponent
so
does
annoyed
have
when you
some
see
pair
the
and
five.
straight draws. Yeah, and you know, your opponent does have some pair and straight draws here, but they have all
everything.
the two pair combos, everything.
There's literally
And of course,
everything
you know,
now. Like,
yeah, to the point where even Tone Echo doesn't love love
yeah,
his
you're like,
hand
why
anymore
did this
on
happen
run
to
out.
me? Both
like, well,
players
it
think
probably
they
won't
just
get
run
value.
super bad.
Exactly. You're like, on one hand, you might not get value. On the other hand, you could potentially be beat as well. So
It's just the absolute worst run
way
out
to
for
lose
aces.
the min.
Lucky for yeah, Ludo loses the minimum. We'll be happier to know that he was out flopped from jump rather than just seeing worse and worse cards peel off on the turn and river. It can be very frustrating. And Tone Echo now up over 3.5 million. Getting punished pre-flop here. Small versus big.
yeah, and Queen 10 offsuit off of 36 big blinds, I would think is a good enough hand to call pre against a big blind raise here. Of course, again, you do think about preserving your chip stack and your chip position, but against the big blind open from the chip leader, these type of Broadway hands play quite well.
You got to see one more here with the gut shot too. This is, I get in some really bad situations here. Now we got to see a river. Now we're open-ended.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily all you're going for in this situation. You realize now that you have a blocker, you have, you know, Jack 10 as a possible hand, as Tone Echo that you could have limp called with. So maybe you don't have to necessarily hit your straight in order to take the pot down. It'll depend on what Alexi does here, though. Goes for half pot with that top pair. For Alexi, it's really nice to have that jack
fold
in
this,
your hand.
Maria? Is this? Can you just fold this? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, against that sizing, and obviously, as I had mentioned, you don't really want to get into a situation where you call there and you lose that pot. You end up with a shorter stack than Ludo.
Bowie effect. Andy Wilson raising this pot. We did talk to Andy during the Poker in the Airs podcast. He was the last guest we've had on, actually. And it turns out that he started playing poker after watching Lex's stream. He was like, if a player as bad as Lex can be successful at this, think of what I could do. Top pair and the only flush draw for Ludo calls the continuation bet from Bowie Effect, who is hopefully betting with 6 high.
Yeah, tough situation for Bowie. Obviously does have the range advantage, does have Ludo covered, but probably wishing that he had at least maybe a heart in his hand just for removal purposes. But
Just
I think
anything.
at
Yeah.
this rate, just anything to maybe give him more reason to try to take that pot away from Ludo on the turn. But with this run out, goes for half pot, shows up to the river with the bottom of his range. So obviously knows that can't win unless he bets. There's a chance, obviously, you know, that Ludo could maybe be playing the board in this situation, but puts Ludo in a tough spot for a fourth of Ludo's stack.
Wow. I'm just impressed that even attempting a bet like that. Ludo does make the correct call and picks up a much needed pot, gives himself a little bit of breathing room, still the bottom stack. Wonder if Ludo's playing in the bath again. I wonder that often, not just, you know, if he's playing poker or not, just is he playing in the bath right now? But no, I think he was playing from the bath on a previous series.
I feel like just from the time zone that Ludo's playing in, he's got to at least have a drink in hand. You made a final table. It's nighttime there.
Let's hope so.
Bit too easy with nines here. Yeah, gonna go for the shove. Tone Echo.
And we are
clearly gonna call.
Flipping for Tone Echo's Tournament Life, who hits a king, and that king holds. That is a double up for Tone Echo. Luke Reeves, bit too easy. Now on life support. Less than a big blind. Tone Echo has doubled up 3 times now, I think, in this last session. Ace high flop, 2 players with ace jack. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Maria.
Okay, so so Joe, just to be clear, should I start a few seconds ahead of you because of the delay? Okay. So maybe I should start, and then when you hear my voice come in, you go. No, or is that already too late? Has the delay already passed us?
I think that'll have the reverse effect that we want it to have.
Okay.
I think it goes like this,
idea.
right? I say, you know what they say, and you wait a half a second.
3 seconds. Oh, okay. Okay. I wait a half a second, and you wait 1.5 seconds, or 2.
I wait.
Anything.
I'm going to wait 1 whole second.
Okay. Done.
And you wait a half a second. All right, here we go. Check, check. This hand ends in a chop, and you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot. Now we just wait for the rave reviews to roll in. Okay, turns out I have to wait. I'm being told I have to wait 2 seconds. It was close, though. All right.
We're just lucky we've had so many chop pots today that we're able to test all of these different things out. The viewers are very lucky.
Yeah, I think we don't focus on that enough, guys. We focus on the players being lucky or this person run. You guys are really the luckiest for getting to hear this. Ace 7 out flops. Ace 4. Tone Echo lets it go.
Okay, now people are saying that you sing it faster. So maybe I'm going too ballad with my rhythm. I think I need to quicken.
It's more jingly than ballady. Yeah.
Right. I'm bring this R&B vibe to it, and I shouldn't. I'm sorry. Alexi with the Jack 3 suited.
Yeah, and Crazy Lissy opening. We haven't seen much from Crazy Lissy lately, and you would understand why. You really don't want to be involved in many pots when Luke has got under a big blind, and Alexi Boyka is going to take advantage of this.
Yeah, certainly.
I can't imagine any situation where Yeah, I can imagine any situation where me with crazy listy stack would open that Boyka is just not going to boink me.
Right. You have to intuitively realize that that is a situation that you need to be attacking. And you know what I was going to say is those hands that combine an overcard that are suited, like the Jack 3 suited, the Queen 5 suited, the King 6 suited, those are all good hands to also do that with.
And we've got jacks versus sevens. Queen high flop, check on the flop.
Yeah, for Andy,
Oh,
just
go check,
exercising some pot control. You don't want to get check raised in this situation and be put in a tough spot. And so doesn't even go for a delayed C bet on the turn there. And now essentially coming into this river is just going to bluff catch against Alexi's bets. Here, if Alexi bets, it could definitely be for thin value, especially with that sizing. Certainly not going to fold out that jacks from Andy.
Doesn't seem to be a... If you raise here, okay, so if you raise here, maybe you can fold out a queen as one reason to raise, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. You know, I think the sizing says that maybe Alexi has, you know, an 8x type hand or just these type of hands that you can actually get some value out of. But also you block Jack 10 as Andy. So it's kind of nice to maybe, like you said, try to fold out a queen in that situation. But also you know that you likely won't get re-raised because it's less likely that Alexi had Jack 10 in that spot, which makes it straight.
Bowie effect, picking up big pocket pairs and back-to-back hands. Jacks followed by queens. Luke forced to fold a quarter of his stack, and what a flop here. And it's Via who leads at this, snuck in there. And
Yeah,
what
Via
a
with
nice
bottom pair.
spot for Andy Wilson,
Via with
who
bottom
gets
pair
the
just
flat
hoping to
call.
take it down.
And a weird spot now for Alexi Boyka, who has top pair, but it's been donk led and then called. And Bowie effect has both players drawing dead on the turn. Via is like, all right, I think I'm good now. Check. I tried.
Bowie just deciding what sizing to go for here. Of course, you have a straight draw possible, a flush draw now possible. And especially when you see Alexi overcall that flop, you know that you want to try to get value from these King X type hands. It would be very unlikely in this multi-way situation that one player doesn't at least have top pair in that spot. But Alexi does lay it down, really not losing
Great
much in that
fold.
situation. And I think the X factor there was just Via being involved in the hand as well and leading out on the flop, because that made Alexi's hand just look a little bit more weak in his eyes against two opponents.
That's right, Babu. I knew how to pronounce it. It's Aleshka is the way you pronounce this screen name. That one I think I can get. Luke Reeves all in with Jack 9 is in a pretty tight spot. I guess is not in third place here. Jack 9, Jack 8, Jack 10. One club on the flop. That's a little bit of hope.
And in this situation, it's not really about the side pot for these players. It's about winning Luke's bounty. So you have to persist. You do have to, you know, peel this flop bet here that Alexi made with the Jack 10 offsuit, because you're like, I see what you're doing here, and I'm not ready to give up so easily. Ooh, Luke, staying alive.
River pocket. This is going to be a triple up for Luke Reeves. And ship it to Bit Too Easy, who went from having less than crumbs, more or less, to having almost 10 big blinds now. Sixes for Ludo is going to run into some pretty strong hands in the blinds. Ace Jack for Via, Ace 10 for Crazy Lissy. It's Aleshka who kicked things off here with a raise. And there's the 3-bet.
Yeah, and Ludo
insta-fold.
Yep.
Ace Queen for Toneko, raise and take it. Luke Reeves with Ace 9, 2 folds in front of him. Ships it in. Who is going to go bounty hunting? Might be Toneko. Does indeed. Toneko needs to hit a queen or a 5, misses both. And Luke doubles up now. Luke Reeves, maybe Christopher Reeves. This is the man of steel right here.
Back in the game. Now with Ace Jack here, just happy to raise in this situation. Gonna go with his hand in most spots unless some crazy pre-flop action happens. Making things happen.
And another pot for Bit Too Easy. Living up to that screen name. Pocket Aces for Bowie Effect. Leshko with 7-10. Ludo with a perfect hand appeal within the big blind. 8-9 of diamonds.
Ooh.
And flops the joint, the bottom end of this straight. Andy Wilson
Aces keep getting out flopped today.
Yeah, that's the second time we've seen a flop straight up against aces. Ludo got off relatively easy when it happened to him, but as they say, that rolls downhill. The victim becomes the perpetrator. And Ludo's straight gets longer.
Yeah, and as Andy, you know that Ludo doesn't have any ace kings here, but certainly could have all the 2-pair possibilities, all the queen jacks, jack 10s, queen 10s, but you do still have aces, 2 flush draws on board.
Can Andy catch the miracle terrible river like Ludo did in order to get away from losing the full amount? He may not get the opportunity. Ludo may put Andy to a decision right now. Andy calls it off and does not improve on the river. That's a full double up from Ludo. Bowie Effect now down to 4.5 million. Pocket 10s. Devastating hand there. 8s for Aleshka. And Via comes along for the ride again in the big blind. This time, flopping 2-pair, outflops both of these monster pairs. And
at
leads.
At this rate, I would just be... yeah, at this rate, if I were in the big blind, I'd just be peeling 100% of hands. It's like, you know what? Whatever you have in the big blind, surely it's going to get there.
And the 8s get out of the way.
And you know, when you see a lead from the big,
excuse me,
from the big
Via
blind,
opened under the gun. I messed that up, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it's been noted.
You messing up, mess me up. So now
Sometimes
this is
I can't
all
see where the
different.
button is, honestly. The button is, I've used PokerStars software for 15 years, and I'm like, is that, who's the button on still? So thanks a lot, guys. 10's no good. Long and the short of it. Both times he was the under the gun raiser. Thank you. And that's my fault, not Maria's. So we do have players in the blinds now. I'm almost positive. This guy Retaliation OSRS, who's the 40th person to say you think I didn't read it. Thank you for your comment. You banned.
I think ace 10's just going to go in here, but Luke with jack 10. Okay, well, in this situation, the peel is going to be appropriate. If Via had just shoved, then obviously I think Luke will have to fold, but this gives him more incentive to see the flop.
Via fires off 275,000. Luke with 2 overs and a gut shot.
Yeah, it just depends on what he thinks Via's opening range is going to be there. You know, if you think that they're all going to contain hands that are just going to call, if you decide to check shove there as Luke with your 2 overs and a gut shot, then you might want to wait for a better spot.
There's the all-in from Andy. Is definitely going to be called by Via. Oh, wow. Never mind. Sorry, everyone. Wrong again.
Yeah, I think Via feels like a 4-bet shove for about, 38 bigs pre that last hand from Bowie is maybe just too much for ace queen. Again, it's about, preserving your stack size in a lot of situations. Could be beat, even if you're flipping.
I'd like to reiterate that if I was wrong, the move was definitely right. Like, that should only confirm you that Via knows the correct move in that situation, given that I thought the opposite thing was going to happen.
I'm just happy that there's at least one person in chat that's sad that it wasn't a chop pot, because clearly they really wanted to hear the song again. As long as there's one of you guys out there, we'll keep doing it.
I'm just glad I had the positions right. And despite this pair of 5s on the end, 7's still the best hand. Check, check, and things continue to slide for Bowie effect. Queen 9 versus 7-10. 2 hearts on board. Tone Echo with the flush draw. Via with top pair.
Oh, I'm going to take one off with this sizing from Via. Gets it right away.
It's always nice.
Via check back the turn, knowing that obviously that heart is a terrible card for his queens and sixes, but also Tone Echo does have a lot of those 6Xs calling from the big blind as well. So Tone's going to go for value here. We will see what Via decides to do. I mean, it's tough to find many bluffs here from Tone, the way that this hand has played out.
Not a lot of bluffs, but maybe some value hands you're beating, like a very narrow range.
Yeah, there are a few value hands that you're beating, and that's where, you know, sizing comes into play, because I think for a smaller sizing from Tone, it would make that hand that Via has a much better call.
Bowie effect with pocket tens so far, not out flopped, but Boyka with a gut shot and an overcard.
Might see a lead here. Just kind of a good spot to lead with your hand, having, as you mentioned, that straight equity. You're against a button open. You know that this flop is favorable to your big blind range.
Bowie makes the call. Ace of diamonds on the turn. Now, if you've led this flop saying like, I'm in the big blind, I've got all kinds of like 8-5s and 5-6s and 5-7s and 6-7s, and then this ace hits, do you now try to rep the ace also?
No, I think especially considering Bowie called that flop, you definitely have to check this turn over to Bowie.
That makes sense. All right. And Boyka does let it go. Bowie effect back up over 5 million after a pretty rough level there. Blinds now up 60,000, 120,000. Luke Reeves all in, gets it through. Pocket sixes for Tone Echo. Ace 8 in the big for bit too easy.
Yeah, and the problem is, you know, obviously this seems, yeah, you know, you're going to get called by hands that are even worse than sixes here. So.
And finally, bit too easy. Luke Reeves succumbs. Out in 7th place for just over $14,000 in advertised prizes. Add in the bounties, and it's over $26,000. A valiant effort at the end there. And Tone Echo goes back to being top of the bounty heap, now worth $12,343. 6 players remain, and a potential big pot brewing here between Ludo and Tone Echo. And don't forget, we're still waiting on who is actually the big blind in this case to decide whether or not they want to come along for the ride. They do not. 2 diamonds on the flop would have been good for Crazy Listy. As it stands, both Echo and Ludo whiff.
And remember, Ludo did just call the open pre here. So obviously feels like ace high is going to be good a lot of the time. But this type of board right now, I don't think that Tone is necessarily going to give up very easily.
That's a bet of 349,200. Quite specific, not giving up easily. Ludo does make the call with ace king, does not improve on the river. It's the 3 of clubs. 4s are the best hand. Tough spot for both players, it feels like.
Yeah, once Ludo calls the turn, that has to be concerning for Tone. And I think Ludo's hand is just too good here to try to turn into a bluff, even though Tone can definitely have these type of hands here.
Goes check, check on the end. Tone Echo ends that level at about 3 or 4x where he started. We're taking a break from that event. The 2K Bounty High Roller. But there are tons and tons of other tournaments going on, including event number 9, the 2K Horse, bringing it back to Maria Ho's roots. Mixed games. This particular variant we're playing is Limit Omaha High-Low, otherwise known as 08. And you'll see there are 4 cards in this game. It's a split pot game. Half the pot awarded to the high hand, half the pot awarded to the low, assuming there is a low hand. What does that mean, 8 or better, Maria?
Well, basically, for the low portion, all the cards that you use to play for that portion needs to be under 8 or under. So, you know, that qualifies you to have a low hand. But if you had a hand, say, you know, here there is no low possible, but let's say there was another low card on the board, you can have a hand like ace 8 to make a low. If, say, a deuce came on that river, then your low would end up being ace, deuce, 4, 6, 8. But in order for a low to be possible, there needs to be 3 cards 8 or under on the board.
And we can see there are some names here at this final table. 7 players remain. We've got Talal Raidalot Shakurchi, who has 4 Scoop titles, including the Scoop 2016 main event for $1.5 million. We've also got Faba Haba Ilari Taco Kallio, who has a Scoop title this year already. And you can see Faba Haba and Raidalot going to war here on this 10 high 2 spade board. Raidalot with a wrap. Is this what you would call a wrap or no?
Yes. With that flush draw as well. And of course, not surprised to see one of the many outs Talal needed come in on the river, improving to that king high straight.
And
but also Faba also has the straight.
Faba Haba.
Faba Haba.
I think we decided we don't do singing and split pot games, although technically they did chop the pot. It wasn't a split pot. It was a chop pot. A Faba Haba chop pot. Should we say everyone loves a Faba Haba chop pot? You weren't with me. Okay. Fine. Should set you up for that one.
Not surprised to see Talal in the mix, though, because Talal has some very impressive no-limit hold'em results, but Talal has also been in the mixed game streets for a while.
And he flops the nuts here.
Sandman with the
Ace
low
4.
draw, a deuce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deuce would have given him the wheel.
And maybe have time for 1 or 2 more hands. This is going to be the last hand. And apparently Faba Haba was the runner-up to Kevin McPhee in Berlin, EPT Berlin in 2010. All right, say goodbye to the horse for now because it's time to get back to today's main event, the 2K PKO High Roller. And the best person to take over in this particular situation would be to hand things back to James Hardigan.
Thank you, Joe. To give it its official title, it is the Sunday High Roller Special Edition, event number 4 on the Scoop 2021 schedule. I can't believe I just missed some Omaha High-Low action. Limit Omaha High-Low, that. Plus, only missed one player going out during the last hour. We are still six-handed at this final table. Alexei Boyka, a former EPT champion, still the chip leader. I guess, Maria, this signals the fact that yesterday, when they had to get down from 38 to 9, that should have been 6.5 to 7 hours of play. Actually, it was less than 4. They got to 9 really quickly. There's still a lot of chips in play. They're still relatively deep. So this final table is going to take a while.
Yeah, I mean, everybody pretty decently stacked here. Nobody super short. I mean, Luke was down to 1 big blind earlier and managed to hang on for a couple of orbits. So we are in it for the long haul. Sometimes these KO tournaments go a bit faster when there are, you know, those 15 big blind stacks at risk because of the loose call-offs. But in this situation, we just haven't had many of those stack sizes that are in danger pre.
So right now, Crazy Lissy is the shortest stack of the 6 remaining players. I'm right in thinking that Boyka's had the chip lead throughout, right? I mean, I know it's hovered between kind of like 12 million, 16 million, but he's remained chip leader for the duration of the final table.
Yeah, at one point Via was kind of giving him a run for it, but then lost a pretty decent pot. So yeah, I mean, Alexei's maintained control so far.
And Boyka bets and gets a call, and ace high, it's still the best hand. But will it call a river bet? Oh, wow. Near enough full pot, Maria.
Yeah, it's a very tough sizing for Tone and does give it up. Good play by Alexei.
So Boyka back up over 14 million. Now, I was joking just now about the fact that I missed out on the limit Omaha high-low action as we showcase a little bit of the horse event that's playing down to a winner tonight. Go Talal, by the way. Should highlight, Maria, that we are going to be showcasing, or rather you are going to be showcasing some non-Hold'em variants of poker for the next 2 Fridays. We've already advertised the fact that Friday is the rest day for players. All of the events that start on Thursday don't conclude until Saturday, and no new events start on Friday. So normally we'd have nothing to stream and we'd take a day off, but we've decided to make Maria work for her money. And Maria is going to fill those Fridays with some replays, with some final table replays of non-Hold'em games.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I'm looking forward to some of the special guests that we're going to have on who are going to specialize in a lot of these mixed games that we're covering.
In fact, we will introduce the first of our special guests tomorrow, because the mixed games specialist who you'll be working with on Friday is going to join us for half an hour tomorrow.
So don't spoil it yet.
It's going to slip out at some point, I'm sure. Full house for Boyka, and yet it's Crazy Lissy who's drawing dead, who's betting the turn.
Yeah, and this could be disastrous for Crazy Lissy if they decide to fire. I don't really see any other sizing available other than all in on a bluff.
Oh, the virtual all in.
Except for that sizing where, yes, now you know that you're beat.
Oh, wow.
Hey, but listen, Luke came back a little bit, maintained slightly from a 1 big blind stack. So
that is true. That is true. All I'll say is slight frustration from Boyka's perspective. Okay, you win the chips. You're now up to 17 million. Your chip lead grows stronger. But there was a $2,800 bounty there that you just missed out on. And you know that it's going to be someone else who deals the death blow and gets that money now.
Yeah, I hate when I end up crippling the person and then someone else gets to knock them out for their bounty. There's nothing more annoying than that.
Yeah, yeah. Just very quickly, let's see how this hand plays out. Tens for Ludo and Ace Jack for Via. Ludo, a 7-3 favorite here. But in the other event we were following this evening, obviously we just dropped by the horse, but an hour ago we dropped by event number 8, which is the 5K. Ace on the turn sees Via take the lead. Huge advantage now. In event number 8, they are down to 4 players, and it is Nikita Bodjakovsky and Sam Greenwood vying for the chip lead right now with 5 million apiece. Matthias Eibinger and Samuel Woosden, the other 2 players remaining in that event. So we'll keep tabs on the progress of the 4 remaining players in the 5K. We've got the horse, the 2K horse playing down to a winner tonight. And of course, this event we're following now, the 2K Sunday Hero Roller Special Edition. 3 days of action from this one. Although, as I said, yesterday was a very, very short day. And now we have a nice meaty final table to follow. Okay, well, Boyka's going to try and get the rest of it. Not going to happen. It's going to be another Luke Reeves comeback, right?
Yeah, except this time I think Crazy Lissy wants to last for more than a couple orbits. But, you know, the good news is the bounty will still be in play unless a jack comes and Crazy Lissy doesn't fill up.
Well, this is going to be a triple up for Crazy Lissy as Via wins the side pot against Boyka. And now, Via in the small blind with the snowmans.
Nom 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 nom.
Have to triple up and then have to be in the big blind the very next hand, but we make do.
So Tone Echo opening with 6-5 suited. Boyka flatting with King 7. Via re-raises. Wow, Crazy Lissy calls all in. Well, this will be another triple up if Crazy Lissy can win this coup. Looking good for the 8s. Heart on the turn, heart on the river. It is an ace on the river. The ace of strawberries that gives Crazy Lissy the flush. So much funner when you go runner, runner. And Crazy Lissy is still alive. Crazy Lissy now playing a stack of nearly 1.4 million. Don't call it a comeback yet because, as Maria just alluded to, we did see a similar story for Luke Reeves. Made the comeback, but could only really keep his head above water for an orbit or 2 before finally being eliminated. Crazy Lissy hoping for another double up or maybe another triple up to really get back in this game. As Via wins with the wheel draw. Bet on the turn, gets the job done. And that's a walk for Tone Echo. Round to Crazy Lissy with ace-8. Virtual all-in. And round to Boyka in the beg with 10-4 of hearts. Oh, the bounty considerations lets the 10-4 go. And now it's ace-king in the big blind for Ludovic Geilich. Blind v blind. Boyka the chip leader in the small. And I wonder how much pressure Boyka might apply here. Raises. Ludo all in, gets called by Boyka. Domination Nation, and it holds. Gaelic gets the double up. So still six-handed at this final table. 445 started, and those are 445 unique players. This was a freeze-out. No rebuys, no re-entries. One chance to win. And these are the final six from that field of 445, generating a prize pool of 890K, and a lot of that money still to be paid. And a reminder, being a progressive knockout event, we've got the payouts as advertised on screen for their respective finishing positions, plus you've got those bounties, those head prizes. And we have got pocket rockets here for Via. Re-raising Bowie effect. Andy Wilson with King, Queen suited. Folds it. So Crazy Lizzie still hovering around the 10 big blind mark. Ideally looking for another opportunity to double up. And that is a raise and take it for Via. And Via opening again with 8-7. Queen Jack for Toneko. That was a legitimate question, by the way. That wasn't me just doing the gag about the question marks at the end of Toneko's name. It was kind of whether this would be a defend. It is. And with the gut shot facing a continuation bet of 183K. Ah, there we go. Nice turn card.
Makes it look easy. I can't remember the last time I made a gut shot.
Now, if Mr. Stapleton were here, he'd be reminding you that gut shots are easy to make. It's open-enders that no one ever makes. The man who
That's the kind of logic
the phrase
that
selective memory. Yeah, there's no logic there. Don't even try and justify it.
Sounds about right coming from Stapes.
Blind v blind. And it's a walk for Boyka. Well, I mean, obviously, I appreciate that Joe is on break right now. But maybe once he's finished his hot dog, we can get him to start cranking it. Because we need the cooler machine. Kind of feel that we need something. You know, 10-3, Queen 5, Jack Deuce. What are these hands? Come on.
Yeah, and certainly you're not going to see a lot of collisions, especially when Crazy Lizzie is so short right now relative to all the other stacks.
Ludo winning that one with a pair of queens. Sevens for Andy Wilson. He makes it 240,000.
Tone Echo has the stack size and one of those hands where you could potentially think about putting some pressure with a 3-bet, considering the fact that Crazy Lissy is very short, but doesn't take that spot. Oh, K7.
Well, you know why, don't you? Always coming 7, and in this case, it's a set of 7s against top pair. And I'm always interested to see how these hands play out when you've got someone who's sitting on 10 big blinds. Full house now for Bowie Effect.
Yeah, I think that king is going to help Via, though, get away maybe more cheaply. If we see Bowie bet here instead of electing this slow play, then I think that Via might have to consider the fact that Bowie also now could easily have trips or, you know, a better kicker with an ace here.
How do you think Tone Echo's feeling about this board right now?
Like I said, you know, King 7 suited is one of those hands that I think Tone Echo could have gotten a little bit out of line with and didn't, but probably regretting it.
We got Ace Jack versus Ace Jack. So Boyka getting frisky with 10-5. The flat from Ludo.
Yeah, and you see Ludo flatting in a spot where if it weren't for Crazy Lissy's stack, he would probably easily be 3-betting a hand like Ace Jack from the big blind. But in this situation, we'll likely see a shove for Crazy Lissy, and then Ludo will get a chance at that bounty.
Yeah. So assuming Via folds here, we'll get the shove from Crazy Lissy, or maybe the virtual all-in from Crazy Lissy. Oh, Via deciding to flat as well. Okay, well, unless some nastiness happens here, Maria, we're heading for another chop pot. So I don't know what you and Joe had going on in the last hour, but I'm going to suggest that I start and I'll go low and I'll hold the sustain and then you come in afterwards and you go high. We'll see how that works.
With the whole song or just the last part?
The whole thing. I'll do the whole thing low and then you do the whole thing high, okay? So, you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot.
Everyone loves a chop pot.
Yeah, I see the problem there. The problem is that I have to sustain for too long. If it was instantaneous, if there was some way of timing it, maybe you have to come in when you hear me say loves. I think that's the problem, that the delay means the gap is just too big. Anywho, Crazy Lissy's all in with 4s against jacks. And Crazy Lissy is now out, KO'd by Ludovic Geilich, cashing out in 6th place for nearly $23,500 in prize money. That's the payout plus bounties, and we are finally down to 5.
Yeah, and Ludo very much back in this at one point, was getting pretty short himself. But now they're all fairly deep. Yeah,
we've still got near enough 10 minutes left on the 61-20 blind level, and the next increase is not that significant, 71-40. So, as we've been saying a few times, plenty of play left in this now 5-handed final table. And I think I saw an update. Obviously, I think the event we're covering tomorrow is the 10K 8 Max, event number 13. And late registration's still open on that one, so it only started tonight. But I'm hearing rumors that the newest recipient of the Red Spade, Sam Squid, is currently 2nd in chips in that event.
Nice. A little run good for the new Team Pro.
As we get Tone Echo opening here with 9-7 of clubs. Oh, beat the aces, says he's first now. There's a long way to go. Just going to say that. Let's not get our hopes up. We've got the wheel draw here for Via, who's also got the best hand with ace high.
Yeah, not a bad flop. Also having that ace of spades as well is nice. Not going to go anywhere.
And check raises the flop, takes it down. Via around the 10 million mark and has been for some time now. Second in chips behind Alexei Boyka. Toneko and Ludo pretty much tied on 7.7 million each. Bowie effect, Andy Wilson now the shortest stack, but still playing around 50 big blinds.
Taking this weak ace as a 3-bet.
Well, pair of fours for Andy, but fives are still good.
Betting around a third pot here. Just really hoping Alexei's going to fold on this flop. I mean, tough flop for fives, can't really continue.
Oh, hello. Setup alert. Maybe Joe has been cranking it. We've got ace, king, and kings here. Boyka opening with king 9. Chances are we'll see the re-raise from Andy Wilson, and then Toneko, Miguel Cioni will have a decision whether to play it slow or re-raise.
Yeah, I think potentially being in a 3 ways to the flop situation, he's probably just going to 4-bet, although he does know that it's going to look so strong. But luckily for him, Andy does have a very strong hand, and this is not a light 3-bet here. So we'll still see some action. No, all of it.
Yeah. And there is an ace on the flop. And that will see Andy Wilson get lucky to double up and take the chip lead. Meanwhile, Miguel has dropped below the 1 million mark. Miguel in the danger zone. And Andy going to flat the raise with 9s. Ludo hits top pair, but Bowie Effect's run good continues. Set of 9s.
Getting a little tricky with the check back on the flop, and Ludo with top pair and the fact that Andy checked on the flop probably is going to try to protect here against those possible straight draw, flush draws.
Gets a bet from Ludo on the turn, just shy of $500,000. So I think we were just referencing about 10 minutes ago, well, that might kill the action. That Boyka had held the chip lead throughout this final table, no more. Bowie effect, Andy Wilson now table boss.
Yeah, and even though the flush draw came in on the river, I think that this is a pretty easy bet here for value from Andy.
King Jack.
It's going to be it for Toneko.
Toneko, question, if you're Boyka, are you going to call with ace 5?
Yeah, I think for that stack size and that huge bounty, ace five is
Course,
certainly
more
good
than
enough.
12
Got to
grand.
ISO.
Good observation. Jack high flop, and that is a double up for Tone Echo. Up to 2 million now. 12k bounty still in play. Of course, the red target, huge amount of money for knocking out Tone Echo. Yeah, a lot of observation that Andy Wilson is getting some of that podcast run good. I genuinely wish we had that power.
I'm still going to request to be on the podcast next time I travel out of the country to play in the next WCOOP. Like, I'm going to put it in the request right now. It's the least you guys can do for me. It's just
Sure.
let me be
Absolutely.
on the podcast.
Absolutely. Ace on the desk gives Andy the lead here. 9-1 favorite with 2 cards to come.
Yeah, pretty safe flop still for Tone Echo, so can't blame him for putting this bet in on the flop.
Yeah, that's a good point from John Delano. It's not just the podcast run good, Maria. If you also adopt a Catvatar, that will also assist you in bringing good fortune at the tables. As we saw, commentator showdown. Joe went with the Catvatar, the socially responsible Catvatar, and everything changed for him overnight.
Yeah, and the funny thing is Joe winning that commentator showdown, instead of, boasting about winning, all he could talk about is how he wins when there's no real money on the line. I mean,
yeah, there were thousands of dollars for charity, and I'm going to say that Joe winning flips in his inconsequential home game is significantly less important than Care International receiving thousands of dollars in donated money. So, perspective, Joseph.
Well, that run out did save Tone Echo from losing more chips.
Well, a pair of kings for Tone Echo, but top pair for Alexei Boyka.
Yeah, it's tough because obviously when you peel with a hand like King 5 of clubs from the big, you're obviously hoping for a flush. But when you get a piece like a middle pair, you don't really have that many chips behind. You don't really want to commit more chips. You're unsure of where you're at in the hand, but you do have a glimmer of hope.
Well, $1 million in the middle. Tone Echo with 1.2 million behind checks the turn. And how much is Boyka going to bet here? Oh, checks it back and gives Tone Echo the free river card, which sees him improve to a full house.
And certainly Tone Echo could have some 9Xs calling from the big blind pre, and also, of course, the King Xs. So in this situation, you kind of feel like if you're Tone Echo, you might just want to shove because you might get a call off for the bounty and get max value here. If the bounty weren't in play, you might consider another sizing, but here definitely is an incentive for Alexei to look you up.
does shove river, Maria, and I'm not saying
But
this
the
is
thing is
an easy fold, but when I see someone with a 12 grand bounty shoving river in this spot, I'm giving them credit for either the king or the 9.
right. And Alexi realizes that, knows that Tone Echo's not going to be putting all of their chips on the line here on a bluff with that big of a bounty. And again, those type of hands, the King X's, are going to be plentiful in Tone's hand from the big blind. So how enticing is that bounty in a situation where your opponent has few bluffs? Not no bluffs, but most likely.
I mean, I was about to say I would fold there, but I'm terrible. Alexi Boyka is not terrible. A very accomplished player, winner of 2 Scoop titles, an EPT champion. Does make the correct fold, though. He's still hovering around the 10 million mark, but hey, Tone Echo making a comeback, up over 2 million now.
Yeah, we've seen some of the other short stacks attempt to come back. Hasn't really stuck with it, but maybe for Tone Echo, he could be the one.
Well, it's top pair here for Andy Wilson. Your bet's 179k into 717,500 gets a fold. And Boyka has slipped into 3rd place. I hadn't even noticed that. Via 2nd in chips. Bowie Effect chip leader. Alexi Boyka now 3rd on the leaderboard. And then we've got Ludovic Geilich and Tone Echo.
Yeah, still so deep, though, as 3rd in chips. Top pair for Ludo here. Gonna go for a bet.
Yamani asking if there are any Dutch players at this final table. Nope. We have got 3 players of the final 5. That is 60% of the field playing from the United Kingdom. Tone Echo, Ludovic Geilich, Bowie Effect, all UK players. Alexi Boyka is playing from Belarus and Via is playing from Russia.
I mean, can't see how you wouldn't for that big bounty.
Yep, that's pretty decisive. Drawing dead on the turn, and that is another double up for Tone Echo. Up over 4 million now. Oh, but we've got a Domination Nation situation. Ace-Queen for Andy Wilson on the button. Raises. Tone Echo with Ace-Jack. Crushed.
Yeah, for just about 30 bigs here, effective. You can't really do much.
And this is looking good for Bowie Effect. And that will do it for Tone Echo. That is the elimination of Miguel Sione. And that 12k bounty's just been claimed by the chip leader. So Tone Echo cashing out for nearly $50,000. Meanwhile, we see Andy Wilson, Bowie Effect, move over the 20 million mark. Huge chip leader now at this 4-handed final table. Plus, Andy is now worth 11.5k. But you can't knock him out right now because he's got everyone else covered by a significant margin.
You see Via with that 3-bet pre from the big blind with 6-5 suited, and Alexi did not fold the ace-7 of spades, and that's a pretty good flop for ace-7 of spades.
So, yeah, I'm sure many of you will have done the math already, but that is near enough $22,000 in bounties won by Bowie Effect.
Via continuing the aggression with a gut shot.
Yeah. Boyka, though, with a pair of 7s and the nut flush draw, near enough 9-1 favorite, and now makes the nut flush on the turn. Via drawing dead.
Yeah, I mean, how out of line is Via going to get? You 3-bet pre, you continue on the flop. Basically SPR of 1 for Via here. I don't know, could be a good time for a little tricky check back here.
So board bricks out, and I mean, Via could try bluffing the river. We can see it will not work.
Yeah, I don't know. That check back may have enticed Via here, though, because it does look like Alexi could have some of those weak 1-pair hands that can't withstand a bet here.
Well, Via's certainly thinking about bluffing this river. Just 25 seconds of time bank left. Does go for it, 1.8 million. And Boyka has the nuts right, so has to raise.
Yeah, going to be a quick fold from Via once Alexi raises.
And that is going to leave Via as the shortest stack at this four-handed final table. 3.3 million. Boyka back up to 14 million. 4 players at the table, 3 commentators in the booth now as we welcome Nick Walsh to Scoop 2021. Short-handed play, Nick. Had to bring you in.
I know. I can't wait, you guys. Scoop 2021. So excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me back once again. Hello, Maria. How's it going?
What's up, Nick?
Not much, not much. We're getting short-handed. Very excited to see how this plays out, especially with this lineup, you guys. I've been following along. I couldn't, I thought, oh, I'll just check in, make sure I kind of see what's going on. Ended up watching pretty much all of the beginning of the stream. So I'm pretty much caught up with where we're at. But yeah, we've definitely seen some craziness in the last couple of hands. I think Joe has been cranking it behind the scenes. I don't know about you, James.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I always, when I like to picture Joe Stapleton in my head, he's cranking it.
He's cranking it with one hand and eating a hot dog in the other.
Absolutely. He can't multitask. Come on. We all know that. Just a quick update, by the way, from Event 8. That's the 5K that's playing down to a winner tonight. We last checked in when they were 4-handed. They're now 3-handed because Samuel Woosden, European, has just eliminated Mikita Bodziakowski in 4th. And that means Woosden now has a ridiculously commanding chip lead. He's got like 13 million. Matthias Eibinger has 2.7 million and Sam Greenwood has 1.6 million. So Woosden on course to win that 5K. Meanwhile, update from the horse that we checked in on the last break. Talal's the chip leader, 6 players remaining. Talal's got 3 million.
I'm always
So,
rooting for Talal. Easy guy to root for.
I heard that you mentioned earlier on, though, James, Maria would be doing some Fridays with the mixed game stuff as well. Very excited to see that. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great because I don't have to do anything.
Nick, have you had much experience in the mixed streets, or?
No, very little. I mean, I've played plenty of PLO, but I've never gone into any of the other other streets, the Stud and Raz and all that. I'm pretty sure I know how to play most of them, but I am completely lost. I'm also very aware of the fact that they say games like Stud is meant to be a game with a memory, and my memory is absolutely atrocious. two or four cards is about as good as it gets. I was definitely born in the right age of poker, I think.
Well, this is going to be another pot going in the direction of Andy Wilson.
Yeah, he's been on quite the heater, hasn't he? I mean, just a couple really, really amazing spots, picking up a lot of really, really strong hands pre-flop, playing really well post though as well from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, trying to squeeze some value out of Ludo here with aces and threes. And, Ludo is liable to do anything.
Okay, I take it back. Maybe this pot will not be shipped in the direction of Andy Wilson if he buys this story. He does fold.
Boom.
Good play by Ludo.
Absolutely.
And it's Boyka opening here with King Jack.
Yeah, we did see Bowie using some of his weaker ace-x combos, as I was about to say, as 3-bets earlier on. I think previously it was like ace-4 off, ace-5 off, something like that. Ace-2 suited can also be used to a similar effect. And when you're looking at a lot of like conventional 3-bet ranges here, it's going to be the offsuit aces where you can make the wheel draw ace-5. And then very frequently it'll be like exactly ace-2 suited. It's one of these weird things. They like to include some of the suited combinations, but at the very, very bottom end. And I think it makes a lot of sense for him to continue applying that pressure, especially to the second biggest stack who has the most ICM pressure put under them as we get to these later stages of this tournament.
Okay, I'm going to give you an out here, Nick. I'm going to assume that you did this for the benefit of the stream. Your calendar is still on March 2021. This is the 6th day of April.
It was for the bingo cards that I handed out earlier on. So of course it was for the benefit of the stream. You guys know that calendar would be up to date immediately every single time. But those of you that are playing Nick Walsh Bingo in the chat, there you go. You can cross that one off. Good job, guys. Classic Nick, huh?
Is it the
I'm just surprised you even have a 2021 calendar.
Well, I know. I guess we should be grateful it's the right year. What was leaping out at me though is I know it's fixed in my brain that today is the 6th, and I'm thinking it's not a Saturday today. I'm pretty sure it's not a Saturday today. I'm 100% certain it's not a Saturday today.
I mean, I think at this stage I've actually got to start hiding like extremely cryptic messages in my background. Just things that are increasingly obscure, and people are just gonna have to piece together that I'm secretly being held against my will in this box that just has a really, really dynamic background or something like that.
Bowie effect opens with ace-3, but with the Rockets, it's Via.
And some really juicy looking bounties here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone is chomping at the bit for Vias, considering, he's kind of getting into that danger zone and everybody else has him covered.
Yeah, absolutely. He might get a little bit of value here, though. You know, quite a passively played hand thus far, and on these paired flops, you know, ace high combos will just be the best hand quite often. Yeah, Bowie effect might be tempted just to go ahead and call on the river there once in a while, but makes the right fold.
We're round to the blinds here as Via completes with Queen Jack. 8 deuce for Bowie effect. Queen high still the best hand.
He's like, I just want to be in this pot. I just want to give myself any slim opportunity to connect in a meaningful way where I can stack Via here and make a bonus 11,000, excuse me. It's just too tempting, especially when you know you can afford to take a hit, right? Even if you get cold decked, but we effect still in a situation where he's not going to be sweating, 3 million or something like this. If the flop does come king 8 deuce and Via's got king 8 or something like that, you know?
Interesting turn for Via, who peeled that flop to have that straight draw. Oh, now little showdown value for Andy.
Gets done by the deuce on the river. Oh,
I think that was the fastest check we've seen from Bowie effect. Oh, 8-7 suited, man. Oh, you just always have to gamble here. But how do you do it, right? Do you just punt it in and try and push? Are we sticking with Alexa, guys? Is that what we're going, or is it Lishka? What was the official term?
It's like Aleshka, it's like Alexi, it's like Alexa.
There it is.
Oh,
okay.
there we go.
And I do actually believe this is the line, because you want to apply maximum pressure with a really high value spot.
8. Diamond draw, but doesn't get there. That is another KO. We say goodbye to Artem Vizhenkov, eliminated in 4th place. Via cashing out for nearly $54,500. Meanwhile, another huge bounty claimed by Andy Wilson. Bowie effect now worth nearly 17K, but has the big chip lead, more than 23 million. Huge advantage over the other two players, former EPT champion Alexei Boyka and Ludovic Geilich.
Yeah, beautiful spot. I mean, when you're actually doing a lot of your homework there in these sort of bounty ICM situations, I mean, this is an extreme example because we're looking at some huge pay jumps as well, but hands like 8-7 suited, hands like 9-10 suited, hands like Jack-10 suited, they're just such high equity value, such high equity hands, full stop. When you're covering both players, the player that shoved and the player behind you, it's just monstrous. It's such a monstrous hand to go ahead and just put it in with and just try and go for absolute max bounties. And also just to generate fold equity, generate folds from the player who's behind you in that spot, who will try and get tricky if you just flat there once in a while or whatever.
Well, this is a very interesting hand. Top pair, top kicker for Boyka, a pair of 7s, and the nut flush draw for Andy Wilson. And Boyka has bet 2 streets.
Yeah, and this time for pot here. And Andy's hand looks pretty good to him, but knows that this is a husky-sized bet.
I can't get behind this whole husky thing.
I got to support Joe once in a while. I feel like a lot of things catch on. It takes a little time. Just some repetition is all it really needs.
But when you say the word chunky, people immediately think of a Kit Kat chunky. And then people smile. Chocolate makes people happy.
I know when I say husky, I just think of corn. It's weird.
What?
Like corn husks.
Okay, well.
Oh, I hear you. Okay.
And Andy still has the best hand. And what is a Kit Kat? Asked Python 314. is it a British thing? I'm too American to understand. Is a Kit Kat uniquely British? It's made by Nestle. It's a global corporation. I thought the entire planet had Kit Kats. Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
I love those green tea Kit Kats. I tried them first in Japan. So good.
Well, Maria, you are certified American, therefore you are living proof. You are my evidence that Kit Kats exist beyond the United Kingdom. Oh, it seems the Kit Kat Chunky may not have made it beyond these shores. Okay, guys, think of a Kit Kat only fatter with more chocolate. Hence, chunky. Well, Bobby Effect continues to hold on to that chip lead.
Yeah, really taking control here. Just in the mix every time.
Okay, well, I'm getting reports from around the world that Kit Kat Chunky seems to have made it to every single country other than the United States of America. Which
I can't say that I've seen it before, but
an irony too apparent to comment on.
I'm picking up what you're throwing down there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to be a pot for Ludo.
There we go.
Kit Kat Chunky is called fun-sized in the US.
He gets it, or she gets it. Ludo limped in with 8-7 suited from the button, just hoping to see a flop. And Alexi with a pretty decent sized raise from the big blind. So Ludo is going to come along.
And Boyka continuing to bet those nines. And there is the flush for Ludovic Geilich, who now has a 3-1 advantage. Boyka still has a full house draw.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy check for Alexi. I think that I don't know how I feel about this bet. I feel like if you think about a lot of the hands that Ludo is going to limp call a raise pre with, certainly has a lot of flushes available in his range. Some Jack X's as well. You know, maybe a hand like Jack 10 offsuit that decides to limp on the button. The good news is if you bet here as Alexi, I think it's a fairly easy fold against this raise. There's just not many bluffs for Ludo in this situation. You'd feel pretty sad about missing out on perhaps some equity holding that 9 of diamonds and not being able to see the river card. But when you do bet again on the turn, I don't think that there's much you can do. Of course, there's the Ludo factor.
Yeah. Well, we've now got 7.2 million, near enough, in the middle. Ludo with less than 4 million behind. And Ludo does indeed shove, and Boyka would have to make a hero call here with just a pair of nines, and it would be a hero call that would give Ludo the full double up. As things stand, even if Boyka folds, Ludo's going to win a huge pot here at the end of this session.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see that many bluffs that Ludo has here. I think that Ludo limping from the button and then calling a raise pre-flop gives him just so many different combinations of flushes.
So Ludo wins the last hand of the level. He and Alexei Boyka pretty much tied for second right now, but it is Bowie Effect who leads this 2K Sunday High Roller Special Edition with a stack of 22 million. Andy Wilson, a player with live earnings of 171K. Best live result, 64th place finish in EPT Barcelona back in 2019. Has a 7th place finish in a WCOOP PKO, but does not have a WCOOP title, does not have a Scoop title, so has not yet earned his place in the Scoop Hall of Fame, a pantheon reserved for players who have either won the Scoop main event or were named player of the series. But this would definitely be a breakout result for Andy, a player who, as I've mentioned numerous times, with full intention of promoting the Poker in the Ears podcast, was the guest on last week's show. And Nick, in that interview, I was interested in how much Andy talked about study as a part of the game, and how I'm realizing there are so many players who are really using sometimes 40 to 50% of their time actually going over the game rather than playing the game now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to stay on top these days in what is a very competitive online environment, it is important that you invest a lot of time into study. And having kind of a methodology, I think, is super important. Something I try and talk about on my stream, especially in the later years, you know, as our stream developed over at OP Poker and stuff like that. I was always trying to find better and better ways to take something in-game and then drag it into sort of a workflow where you could go over it later on. And having these sort of things in place is something that online poker offers, where live poker can be very difficult, you know, to try and capture all of the information in any single spot. So if you are interested in learning, you know, more about the game, having the ability to sort of just go, okay, right click, save that hand for later, and then running it through whatever software you have, or like, you know, having the opportunity to show it to your friends where it's a verbatim copy of what actually happened in that hand, I think is super, super, super useful. And these days, the number of tools that, you know, we have to help us in these situations is just ludicrous. So you really got to be out there putting in the time. And I think the more time you spend in the study, the more time you're going to, you know, spend on final tables. I think that's just the be all and end all.
Yeah, it's fair to say, Maria, that some players have been left behind by this, that they haven't caught on to the importance of this amount of study and the tools that are available to review your play.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately it just goes back to the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think some people, after playing poker for a long time, they might be unwilling to discover some of these new tools that they have at their disposal, and they just want to be spending their time on the felt playing. But as Nick mentioned, I just think that it's so invaluable to be doing a lot of studying, especially nowadays when there's so many other resources available.
Well, Maria, thank you very much for your time today. Obviously, you're going to be back with us on stream in the next few days, and you're going to be hosting those final table replays on Friday as well. Nick Walsh is going to stay with us as we head back to the final table of Scoop event number 4, the final table of the Sunday High Roller Special Edition, a progressive knockout event where 3 players remain. And it is Andy Bowie Effect Wilson who has the chip lead, 158 big blinds, but Boyka and Geilich have 80 bigs each, a 105 big blind average. We joke about Nick enjoying 3-handed play. We might see a lot of it. And we're going to welcome Joe Stapleton back into the mix as we return to our 3-handed final table. And just to recap how Andy Wilson got that nickname, he told us, Nick, on the podcast, that the first ever live tournament he won, he was wearing a David Bowie t-shirt. And when he called his mother to let her know that he'd won this game, she said it was the Bowie effect, and the name stuck.
Awesome.
That's where the online handle came from.
I love that. That's
I wonder
amazing.
how she
It's
knew what
really cool.
shirt he was wearing. Like, probably because she washed it for him would be my guess.
I love that story. I really like that his mom was involved with that. You know, he's like, hey, Ma, I got this really cool story. You know, I went really far in this poker tournament. Well, what were you wearing? That's the important thing. Tell me what you were wearing. Oh, yeah, cool. It was a Bowie shirt. Well, it must be the Bowie effect. Yeah. That's awesome to hear. I love it. Guys, get your claps in the chat for Maria Ho, by the way. The best in the biz right there.
So first,
I thought I was coming in, by the way, to close this out, to be like, there's a huge lead. The other two, no, nobody's short. There's nobody's short, and it's very deceptive.
Well, I was thinking, Joe, during not the last session, but the session before that, where I think you and Maria had an hour of action with just one elimination when Luke Reeves went out just before the break. And I'm thinking, why is this playing this way? And it's when I actually looked at yesterday's action and realized, oh, they should have played for around 7 hours to get down from 38 to 9. It happened in less than 4 hours. So it's one of those days where it went lightning fast, and that means that we're playing more levels today than we should have done because yesterday was so quick.
Yeah, we got a long way to go here potentially, unless somebody gets welcomed early into Coolersville. But even with the bounties in play, I think it would be lighting money on fire to get too deep without there being some serious setup action.
Yeah, and Nick, we often say that in a PKO format, you are more likely to see more aggressive play, especially big bets pre and players getting it in with bigger stacks. But with these stacks, even that is kind of pushing it.
Yeah, and the way that it's played out as well means that Bowie Effect has like, this value next to his name, where 16,000 is enough to probably sway most players here to make a wider decision. If he's in a situation where he's becoming short, they're going to take shots for that kind of money. But I think 6,000 and 3,000 on the other two players isn't going to be enough to make any huge significant difference in the way that they're going to play their hands, because the pay jumps that we're looking at between third, second, and first are already very, very consequential. You're already looking at some big pay jumps, and I think that's going to be the focus for these players, much more so than the bounties in play, unless we see Bowie Effect get decimated at this point.
We have been providing updates from some of the other events that are concluding tonight, including SCOOP-08, which is the 5K event. And last time we checked in, they were three-handed. Samuel Woosden, the huge chip leader, and both Matthias Eibinger and Sam Greenwood were short. Sam Greenwood now has no chips at all. Third place finisher, cashing for just over 100K, which means it's heads up between European and I Am Best 2. And Samuel Woosden still has the monster chip lead. 16.2 million for Woosden, 1.38 million for Eibinger. So that one could be over soon. Talal Shakurchi still chip leader in the 2K horse with 5 players remaining.
Got a really interesting hand brewing here. We saw a limp from Ludovic and then an ISO from Bowie, the ISO raise, which was called by the Queen 10, and obviously a very action-heavy flop for Queen 10. Bowie Effect's going to go in for this really chunky size on this flop as well. Clean turn for him, though.
How do you ever, after you go that big on the flop and get called, after you go that husky on the flop, how do you ever not just give up?
No, you see, the moment Nick said chunky, everyone started thinking about Kit Kats, and now everyone is smiling.
I hear what you're saying, though, Joe. Absolutely. I mean, that is a pretty unconventional sizing. In a lot of cases, when we're looking at the way you size your bets on flops, you do it in a way where you get a nice cheap bluff in, and you're also not pushing out some more medium strength hands if you are strong, and then you do give yourself a little bit more scope to go bigger on turns. The paired board is usually not one that you want to continue barreling on too heavily unless you do actually have some showdown, though. So, if it came an ace, for example, though, your point still remains, right? Or if it came a queen or something and you want to try and represent it, when you go that big on the flop, you're diminishing SPR at a rate which makes it very difficult to have a second barrel.
Well, Ludo has gone big on the river.
Queen 10 here.
1.7 million into 2.7 million. And can Andy Wilson find the hero call with ace high? Yes, he does.
Lordy, you're beating queen 10 and queen 9.
6 million.
Yeah, I mean, and for the same reason why I'm saying that that paired board turn is not the kind of turn that you want to be, barreling, especially with a hand like ace high, is also the same reason why you can actually be checking back, because you have significantly more showdown on the turn than you would do if it runs out where, some random straight draws do make pairs, or of course those straight draws do come in with, an ace or a 7 or whatever if they have a hand like 9-10. Sick call. Final table. Let's go.
Very sick call. James contends that thinking of Kit Kat Chunky is what makes people smile. No, they're thinking about little chubby kids. That's why they're smiling. They're thinking about little chonkers, little sweatpants, little cans of tuna. That's what's making them smile. But that's why we say husky.
Does Bowie Effect ever not have a set? That's the question, guys. He's had a lot on this.
I mean, he didn't have a set when he called with ace high on the river on the last hand. It was pretty impressive considering I couldn't.
Yeah.
If you had said to me, like, if I was in Andy's spot there and they're like, what hands are you beating? I'd be like, I can't think of one. I wouldn't even be able to think of queen 10. I'd be like, I don't think I'm not beating anything.
Well, Ludo is paired as 7. Boyka betting with ace high. Interesting card. Both players now with a flush draw. Nut flush versus second nut flush.
Oof.
Boyka bets again. 777,000 overbet.
Slight overbet with the ace of clubs in his hand. Oh, very, very troublesome river for the king of clubs here.
Oh. Is it the paired board that's going to save him? Is it the paired board, which means he will just call this bet?
And 9-10 of clubs. 5-9 of clubs. Think of all these. Oh, no.
Yeah. What I mean is it was an obvious spot where Ludo's going to lose chips, but I guess what stops him from raising the river there, Nick, are those options of full houses and, yes, the straight flush.
Well, I mean, it's also just a spot where, like, if you do have the king of clubs, I don't think there wasn't any part of that hand where the ace of clubs was making it look like they might have had a weaker club that might sort of cry and call a raise on the river, right? Like everything about the way he played it was either going to be strong or it was going to be weak. So I wouldn't see that much value in raising with the king of clubs regardless, because I don't think they're going to have the kind of play. I mean, and they're also probably not the kind of player who's just going to be like, 6 of clubs, why not? Let's just see if he's got it or not. We're not playing that kind of poker when we're in the 2K Sunday High Roller Special Edition.
Deuce hold.
Okay. Deuces never loses.
I mean, we saw Bowie check back with
crazy.
the ace
Did you just think
X
of that?
combo. I was going to say he probably does play it more passively here again, though, like we saw in the previous spot, especially on the paired board, for all the reasons we've discussed so far.
Fun little matchup here. Queen 10, King Jack. Fair fight.
And 5-4. Family pot.
Fair fight, 5-4.
Well, we've got top pair versus the open-ended straight draw.
And the
Top two,
backdoor
I should
wheel.
say, for Bowie Effect.
Wheel.
Boyka calls and, well, Ludo would have picked up the straight draw on the turn, but as things stand, Andy's now a 4-1 favourite with one card to come. How much is he going to go for? Wow, bets big on the turn, gets a fold.
Very chunky.
Obese. Medically obese bet. Oh, what a setup. 10-4 against 10-3. Wow, gets away from it.
Dumps it in here, 9-7 suited. Playing for all of it, applying maximum pressure to the third in chips here.
Wow.
Power poker.
Well, this is
indeed.
the last real pay jump, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Outside of the bounces.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hands like 9-7 suited, 8-9 suited are already very high up there in their, push fold value. And then you apply the fact that this is the last pay jump and you just go for it.
Somebody's stream just got caught up. What did I miss with the 5-5 hand?
I can't remember
Andy
which
just
one they're
wrote in
referring
chat
to.
5-5, eh?
We've got King Queen against 9-8 here.
James, I got like a Laden Thinks type question for you. Do you think we've commentated on more poker hands in 2020 into 2021, like this past lockdown 12-year span, or all of the time before that?
That's a great question.
It's got to be close, right? I don't know the answer. No, that's why it's a Laden Thinks question.
I bet it's really close. Because even when you guys were doing like full streams where you were doing like live poker with live commentary, the speed of the play would be much, much slower anyway.
Yeah. It's got to, you know what? It's got to be more in the last 12 months.
If you include all of the retro stuff, that might just tip it over the edge.
Yeah. That's a good point, yeah. Is there any Poker in the Ears super fans of Poker in the Ears who could just go back and like do the math and just figure it out for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's someone out there who wants to actually do the hard work, I'm all about it.
There's one thing we know about our audience is they're very busy. Got a lot going on.
Uh-oh. Ace King in the big.
Here we go. Here we go, my babies. Oh, wow. Just later on the Queen 10.
Just gets it in, and a fold from Andy Wilson. King Deuce versus King Jack, blind v blind. Wow, Ludo just gives Andy a walk. Now King Queen versus Ace 10.
Very interesting dynamic here with the shorter stack still in here. Ludovic, not that short yet. Like, you know, still got a playable stack. But obviously it's going to affect how aggressive these guys are blind v blind as well. Ace 10 opting for the flat there pre-flop, I think, is a good example of that exact situation. King Queen with the club going in for the raise here.
And there is the flush on the turn.
Boom. More Bowie effect. By the way, did you know that David Bowie's real name was David Robert Jones Owell?
Sorry?
I didn't even know that was... Apparently his real name is David Robert Jones Owal.
I didn't know about the OAL bit. The rest of it, yes.
Yeah, it's a strange last name.
Well, you remember the hashtag fun fact from Lee Jones about why he changed his name to David Bowie? Because he didn't want to be confused with Davy Jones from the Monkees.
Or from The Locker.
Wow. Polarizing is Riverbed here, king of clubs. Almost full pot. Oh, the aggression here from Bowie Effect attacking that limp.
Versus the Dolly Parton. And King High still ahead on this all strawberries flop.
Yeah,
but not really.
This is definitely, yeah, exactly. This is definitely a perfect example of how that aggression can just be used to such, you know, when we're playing three-handed, the big blind versus small blind dynamic, when you're in the big blind and you're taking that aggressive action, when somebody's limped, there are so many more textures where you can get folds, and that was an absolutely perfect example of that. Dominated pre-flop if we can see the cards, but obviously once you arrive on the all-heart board, ace high, you're just going to get so many folds as a C-bet. You're going to pick up so much money at non-showdown there.
King High still ahead here. And it wasn't that long ago that both Ludovic Geilich and Alexei Boyka had 11 million chips. Ludo has dropped down to 4.5 million.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody really knows how much 4.5 divided by 160 is. It's just too hard to do the math on those sorts of numbers. That's what people are running.
It's definitely an awkward level.
You know, there's solvers for later just to find out how many big blinds they had during this level. But you can ballpark it. I mean, I can't. Other people can.
This is playing like a spin and go where they gave the three players far too many chips.
Yeah. Like, we're not going to play these hands. We're good, actually. I wonder why Ludo stopped at Ludovic. Seems like a weird place to quit.
Jack 5 of clubs looking really nice on this board, though, especially when your opponent's checking to you. You're like, oh, okay. All right.
Don't mind if I do.
Click. Seems like a good size.
And gets there on the turn.
Seems like a great turn.
Boyka drawing dead now.
Yeah, it's a paired turn as well. Like, you know, if your opponent does have a hand like, you know, ace 10, ace jack, ace king, and they just decided to slow it down on this kind of, you know, lower flop, it's definitely the kind of turn where you might get some more calls, especially if they do have the, you know, 10 of clubs, jack of clubs, ace of clubs, something like that in their hand already. Although those tend to go into the flop c-bet spots a little bit more often.
Would you call getting a walk with eights walking in a winter wonderland?
Oh, because there's snow. Yeah,
I dig it.
Sorry, it took me a while.
Sorry, it's not on the nose. There's a big cartoon jumping up on screen. to think about it a little bit.
It was the walk bit. I was thinking, why walking in it?
Because you got to walk in the big blind.
No. I was trying to work out where the walking in the winter bit came from, and it was only then I realized it was 8. It was snowmen's. As I said, it just took me a while to.
In the meadow, we can build a snowmen's.
No,
nom.
I know. You don't have to explain it. Now I've told you that I've got
it
there.
now. You got it. Should I explain it further? See it
Definitely
Christmas
not.
time.
Well, just going to give Mr. Walsh a brief break as we continue following the short-handed action here at the final table of Scoop Event 4. A 3-day event which concludes tonight. The last 3 players from a starting field of 445. And again, important to highlight, Joe, we often talk about unique players and re-entries. This was a freeze-out. So these are 445 human souls that bought into this.
Nice. I would debate the humanity of some of them just based on pure skill level.
Argue that.
But I take your I take your point. Ludo way behind with King High. Does not turn anything exciting. I sure hope Andy Wilson's not watching this hand. Look at that. He folded 8-3. He would have had 3 8s here. Oh man, I'd be inconsolable right now if I had folded 8-3. Does Ludo want to show down this heartbreaking King High? No choice but to do it. Drops below 4 mil.
Ace-9 versus King-9. This could get interesting.
Oh, less interesting now if they both make a straight.
Yeah.
But it's always fun to see who wins in these spots when nobody has anything, right? I mean, that's the majority of poker hands. You don't make a hand.
Yeah. So, ace high still ahead. And we see Ludovic with that one. We are just going to go across to the final table of event number 8. This is the 5K where it is Samuel Woosden, European, with the commanding chip lead. Now, Woosden is a player we saw in action last night. Made the final table of the 10K, but actually busted in 9th. And unless Matthias Eibinger is able to make the comeback of all comebacks, Woosden is on the verge, Joe, of winning his 3rd Scoop title in this 5K.
This kind of feels like the end of Mortal Kombat where the guy's just kind of sitting there like this. We're just waiting for the finish him with this chip discrepancy between these two. Will it be a fatality? Will it be a babality? Will it be a friendship?
Ace King bets the flop, gets the fold from Eibinger. And blinds a 61-20. Wow. I am best 2 is really short.
Just get in with 7 deuce here. Just go for the gusto. Just a check.
King high, still the best hand.
It's just so annoying, right?
Double.
You're this short, and you're willing to get it in
I
with
know.
so many hands, and they're like, "Here's the absolute worst hand possible.
Yeah,
Enjoy."
Yeah. Your range is wide, but it's not that wide. So
You're
double
like,
paired
give me
board,
a 10
king
and any
kicker
card
playing.
near it.
Yeah. And I imagine we'll see the fold from Ibinger here. And blinds up. Wow, as if the pressure wasn't enough. Jack 3. That might do.
Come back.
Come
He's
back.
calling his shot. Let's do it. Come on. I'm rooting for him.
Boosting
There's
calls
3.
and
Oh, no.
flops the straight, and it is over. And we have a winner in event number 8. That 5K taken down by European. Samuel Woosden, the champion, taking the first prize of $177,000. Matthias Ibinger, the runner-up, taking $135K. And that is a 3rd Scoop title for Samuel Woosden, conquering a pretty stacked final table. Meanwhile, we can now go back to the event we've been following for the last few hours, the final table of event number 4. This is the 2K Sunday High Roller Special Edition. This is a PKO format, and things are getting spicy here, Joe. We got Queens versus Ace Jack.
Yeah. I don't know how out of line Ludo is going to be getting, but Ace Jack is just so strong. 3-handed. Nice laydown. Ludo having a little comeback himself. Was below 4 million when we last checked in, and this could earn him some more chips.
Absolutely.
Eating top pair right now.
Alexei Boyka has paired his 8, and that means Ludo can get value. 186 into 780.
It's, as James would call this, a little tickler right here.
It's a teaser, a tickler.
You would assume this is what Ludo wanted. We see another 8 is folded. King on the turn. I don't know how Ludo's going to feel about this. I assume that any card that's beating me is what my opponent's holding, but these players are a little bit better than that. Quarter pot bet is tough to deal with here, though. Safe river. Yeah, Boyka gives up on this. And Ludo gets to have the free showdown. Doesn't take it good enough to know that he can value bet this. Knows he's going to be up against an 8 a lot of the time. This is like just such skillful play.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do this. You're not afraid of the 7. You're not afraid of the king. Not afraid of 10s.
Wow.
And gets paid to. Unbelievable flip-flops positions with Alexei Boyka.
And Nick Walsh is back in the mix. So Nick, any update on when you're going to get Elon Musk's space internet?
It's actually available in quite a few places now. They've actually rolled it out pretty quick, but I'm kind of just trying to figure out what's the best location. Like where do you take your space internet to make the most of it? You know, like think somewhere just picturesque and, you know, out there where you can really soak up the beauty of nature without any expectation of there being any good internet with your little Skynet satellite dish. You know, it's gonna be great.
Action is moving at quite a fast pace. And yeah, just to pick up on what you were saying, Joe, we have seen the switch with Ludo now moving up into second and having the slight chip advantage over Alexei Boyka. Meanwhile, Andy Wilson, Bowie Effect, continues to dominate this three-handed final table, still playing more than 27 million.
Yeah, that pocket nines hand that we saw just now, guys, that was a really sweet one. Ludovic just having the whole he gets the whole thing. He understood where he was, and by the time he got to the river, I think he knew that if he was concerned about a 7 or something like that, he just wasn't concerned about it anymore because his opponent didn't fire that third barrel. And you got to be gutsy in this game, especially when you're playing against really strong opponents and finding that really.
By the way, this is a Nick troll. Nick is he's like, what is he saying? This is really valuable stuff, guys. It's too bad. It's too bad you couldn't hear that. The PokerStars overlords were like, nope, you're not giving away that information for free.
Yeah.
Shut down by the Wizards.
Well, QB for trolls says, oh, the irony. Nick is breaking up, talking about the internet he doesn't have, but so obviously needs. We're going to reboot the Walsh as we continue to follow the action at this three-handed final table. Hey, Joe, the blinds are going to go up in 3 minutes to 100, 200, and I know that that is a good blind level to activate the human calculator.
I don't know about that. If you want to talk about small blinds, maybe.
Pair of sevens versus the diamond draw.
Well, this one's got some real potential, doesn't it? Here we go. A little elbow grease on the turn from Alexei Boyka. Oh, man. Andy makes the right call. Dodges the diamond. Boyka hits the jack. Isn't this what happened on the final hand yesterday? Wasn't this like like a great call on the turn, and then the river's just like a weird overcard hits that?
Yep.
Oh man. And Boyka still knows he can value bet this river now that he's got top pair.
Good fold by Andy Wilson. So, Joe, we just saw the conclusion of the high buy-in version of Event 8. A reminder, it was Samuel Woosden, European, who took it down. In the medium version of that event, which is a $530 buy-in, Spraggy has just bubbled the final table. Spraggy bust in 10th place, cashing for $6,200. And Spraggy was knocked out by Ramon Kalilas. It was Team Pro on Team Pro violence.
Oh, man. So I guess he won't be able to follow Ramon to the final table, huh?
He will not be able to follow Ramon to victory.
Well, we got the up and down draw. Look at this. 50-50. 2 overs versus live cards and the up and down. You're not allowed to complain about spoilers for another stream if you're watching this stream. I'm sorry.
Correct. Stick to watching one thing. Focus.
Ace Queen High still the best hand. Every time with the up and down draw pair. Every time. Doesn't matter. Gets the ace queen to fold. Sometimes that's all you need. Just give me a reason to bet. I don't even need a hand. Ludo folds the suited 8 deuce. And it is definitely a race against the clock to not finish third. 25K pay difference between third and second first, as I like to call it.
Second first. Well, decent flop for King Queen. Boyka has a pair of queens as well.
Sir Goran on Twitch says, I have no idea how to play poker, but I come here for these legends of commentators. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's it, me. Boyka drawing dead on the turn now. Probably wouldn't call another bet anyway. Nah.
Nom 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 nom.
There it is.
Snowman's
No
through the
walking
gullet.
in a winter wonderland this time. Mini Cooler Nick is alive and well. We're just working on some technical stuff, hoping to bring him back shortly. Insta raise on the button from Andy Wilson. Bowie effect commanding three-handed play. As in a domination situation, Ludo limping in, King 10 suited. And flops the world here. Top pair and a flush draw.
Oh, that is a card that could get Andy Wilson into trouble.
Hey, Mr. Wilson. There are not a lot of good rivers for him either.
No. Less than 5% equity, facing a bet of near enough 700K.
A husky bet.
And that is not a river that helps Bowie effect.
Kami Abarami asks, where can you play this? Play on PokerStars. Thank you for your question. Free money games available.
So Geilich goes for value. 1.4 into 2.2. And Andy Wilson with the decision on whether to call with a pair of queens on this board.
That Ludo factor has been paying off for him.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I don't even
another
know
option.
what here. Yeah.
This is turning those pair of queens into a bluff, Joe, to try and blow Ludo off the very hand he has.
This is Ludo's tournament life.
I like this hand.
This is a bubble play for the ages.
All into call. Yes, you've got top pair, but what are you beating when you get raised on the river?
Either way that this hand plays out, it's going to make me sick.
3 seconds. Out of time, Ludo. That's a fold.
Wow.
And that will see Andy Wilson, Bowie Effect, move up to 32 million. Huge chip lead with 3 players remaining.
Ludovic licked there.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again and then try again another time. Nick, are you receiving? Over.
I'm receiving. I've been rebooted, guys. Hopefully this time a little bit better. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. I'll give Elon a call later on and tell him that, he needs to send some more satellites my way or something like that. I don't know.
If you're talking to Elon, can you let him know that Ludovic Geilich would like him to play in his home game? And if he has a number for Anthony Hopkins, he's also invited.
Sure thing. Ludovic coming off the back of that epic bluff from Bowie Effect, walking straight into the absolute
walking
so pretty.
Straight into
Clubs
technical
again.
problems.
Stalking Geek says, unfortunately, Nick's calendar hasn't rebooted.
Good
You're absolutely right. That would have been a really quick change. Jumped off. It's a little bit more involved. I got to take it off the wall.
Well, we get the raise from Bowie Effect, the flat from Boyka, and
was it a cable unplugged the whole time, Nick?
No, I don't think so. But I was just triple checking. Just have you tried turning it on and off again?
oh, hold on a second. I'm pretty sure this is meant to go in there.
Yeah. Does this look important, guys? Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, this is, by the way, pretty fantastic stuff we're witnessing here for Bowie Effect. Making hands, making plays. Just very impressive.
Yeah.
What's interesting, Joe, is we were talking about Andy last night. Sam Grafton was praising his work ethic and his focus on the game, and also saying he absolutely deserves that breakthrough win, and this could be it. Don't want to jinx it, because a lot of things could go against him. But with this chip lead, with this advantage, and look, let's be brutally honest, the way he's playing, the moves he's making, you've got to have a good feeling about the outcome of this for Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. It really seems like he's in the flow right now. He's picking his spots really well. I mean, that move that move just there is a perfect indication that he knows kind of where he's at on this final and how to use that big stack to the best of his ability. When you've got 32 million and you're all the pressure on that shorty, like Joe pointed out earlier on, that third place to second place is pretty much the last pay jump. And that's meaningful. That's something that you could definitely exploit. Very difficult turn, though.
Very difficult turn. When your job is to keep the pressure on right now, when your job is to keep on firing, and then you actually make top pair, there's a pretty good chance this is going to result in Ludo taking down a big pot.
Ready, 2.5 million in the middle. And can Andy just check this back? Yes, he does, and loses the minimum. Talking of losing, sadly, we are going to have to say goodbye to Nick Walsh. I'm sorry, Nick. I don't know what the problem is. We'll try and get it fixed. We'll try and get it resolved. And hopefully the next time you can join us on the stream, we won't have these issues.
Hey, no problem. I'm really sorry about that, guys.
So our thanks to Nick Walsh. Okay, no pressure, Joe, but I want you to provide top-level analysis of this three-handed action.
Sure, no problem. You know, I think... Hold on, let me figure this out. Okay, so there's a pair of sevens. And...
That is correct.
Andy Wilson is betting, but does not have the sevens beat, from what I can tell.
This is astute.
Now, this ace on the turn, this is an interesting card. I don't know why, but they almost everyone says that, no matter what the turn card is. So that's something I'm trying to add into my repertoire, is to be like that. Well, this is an interesting card. And then because it's online poker, usually the next card comes out so fast, you don't really have to back it up. So, you know, Aleshka, anytime you want to go ahead and, you know, do whatever you're going to do here with your pair of sevens. By the way, folds. And see what an interesting turn card that was?
Yeah. You know when you regret asking something?
We have our fun.
So
here,
three very
Scoop 2021
players contesting this. By the way, we are now at the 100-200 blind level. We have been for some time, and Boyka is getting low, dropping down to nearly 10 bigs. Okay, now 15.
Ludo limping in with ace-6, maybe looking for a little aggression. Maybe looking for a... No, does not want the aggression. Has got to just wait out. He's got to wait out Aleshka at this point. Just hoping for a cheap flop. And Aleshka does defend with 6-3 of hearts. Is not going to be able to continue. And yeah, you know, this is just the absolute dream spot for Andy. We see it time and again. Massive chip lead, one short stack, one technically average stack, and the average stack just completely handcuffed.
Yeah.
Does not want to be all in without the nuts or the very near nuts.
So again, don't want to jinx this for Andy, and by no means is victory assured. I want to keep saying that, but
stop it then.
His previous biggest result was back in 2017, so 4 years ago, won the Thursday Thrill for 75K after satelliting in for just $55. With bounties, he could potentially win near double that if he can take this down, plus have a major online title.
Why do you hate Andy Wilson so much?
I don't. I'm actually genuinely excited for him, especially as we got to talk to him in the last week. And
it is so much easier to hit up somebody before they win something for an interview than after. Like, I'm really glad we got that out of the way.
You said that at the start of the interview. And the weird thing is, oh, hold on a second. We got the Snowmans for Alexei Boyka and pocket tens for Ludovic Geilich. And this could be it for Boyka. Domination Nation. And an 8 needed to survive. Doesn't hit. Instead, it's the full house for Ludovic Geilich. KO. Former EPT champion Alexei Boyka out in third. And now we are heads up.
Double good news for Ludo here as we see the GGGLs happening. Double good news. One, is that Ludo laddered up. 2 is that there's no more laddering up to be done. So I would expect we'd see Ludo open up their game a little bit. You know, the pressure is almost on Andy Wilson here more than it is on Ludo. I was reading that in a Scottish accent. And a king on the turn. Good enough. And we've got an ace on ace situation. And Ludovic with the only spade. Some chopper.
So we're heads up in this 2K, Joe. Should point out that they are also heads up in the 2K horse. It's Talal Shakurchi. Raidalot heads up against Labyrinth 93.
Oh, we got Labyrinth and Bowie Effect. Both heads up for a scoop title.
Imagine if Jareth was involved somehow as well.
We've got 3. We're about to put the crowns on all the Goblin Kings here.
Jack 9 versus 9-6. We go to the flop.
I think I don't know much about Labyrinth, but I like Talal there anyway. Talal's a scoop crusher.
He is
possibly
good
at scoops.
Scoop Hall of Fame. Queen high flop, so Ludovic Geilich with the advantage.
Ends quickly.
Closing the gap slightly.
Oh,
hold on a
my
second.
goodness.
Jacks versus Kings, and Kings for the player with the big stack.
Speaking of Winter
Re-raise.
Wonderlands, what a cold deck.
The 3-bet from Bowie Effect. Are we going to see a 4-bet shove from Ludovic Geilich?
How
Not
do you
quite.
not put in another bet? Yeah. It's just calling his dad or mom. Hey, Mom, I just want to let you know the Bowie Effect. It's still a thing.
Kings ahead. Jacks at risk. And Kings hold. We have our winner. The knockout of Ludovic Geilich and the breakthrough win for Bowie Effect. Andy Wilson takes it down. Ludovic Geilich is the runner-up. And wait till I read you these numbers, Joe. So Ludovic Geilich for second place gets near enough $84,000 when you combine second place prize money and the head prizes. But remember, Andy not only gets Ludo's bounty, he also keeps his own head prize. So his total prize money is $151,779. And Andy Wilson is now a scoop champion. That is the breakthrough win that he alluded to when we spoke to him last week. We talked about with Sam Grafton last night, and he has now achieved tonight. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So happy we did get a chance to talk to him before this happened. The Bowie Effect, right? There was no ace from space, but there were some spiders from Mars, I think, keeping the Bowie Effect in full effect. And that's wild too, right? First place prize around 60K, and the head prizes being just about double that for 150 total. Like, what an insane payday. Great job, Andy Wilson.
So another fun final table, and tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have another one for you. We have another 10K event that's going to be playing down to a winner. When we were checking in earlier on, we did allude to the fact that Sam Grafton was chip leader. So if Sam makes the final table, we're going to have to draft in his replacement because he's meant to be with us on the stream tomorrow night. But we will bring you that final table tomorrow. So make sure you join us at the usual time. You know by now, it's 1:30 Eastern. It is 6:30 UK and 7:30 Central European time. But for now, from all the team here, from Maria Ho, Nick Walsh, Joe Stapleton, and me, James Hartigan, it's good night from the PokerStars Arena.